They're going to be quite the challenge for Alex Gibbons to try and deal with.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one now that we're heading into the race. Overtaking, I think, going to be a bit harder now that we're in the F1 cars as well. They're a little bit wider. And yeah, strategy, I think, is going to be a big thing here tonight.
100%. Mandatory two-stop if you have forgotten that rule. That's going to shake things up a little bit more, especially for some of the drivers that are down the field. Infratic had a position, Cream 7T had a position as well, just couldn't quite get that final lap time in on the board. Jorik van Geffen as well, P15, two-time winner of this race, most successful driver at the Monaco Grand Prix, has a hell of a lot of work to do, setting only a 12.0. Opportunities as well for some drivers. Scott Taylor and Adam Sanderson nestled nicely inside the top 10.
Although starting alongside each other, old rivals, you never know what could come from that. We could be seeing another car park forming down at someone once we do get this race underway. Yeah, it's definitely interesting as well. We've got Ben trying to fight his way through. We know he can be quite aggressive with his overtakes. And yeah, I think we're in for a really real treat here tonight.
100%. Championship leader also starting from P4. Meraki very much in the game, hoping to hit a home run for the second time this evening. We do have some rain potentially coming as well that we've seen on the radars. That is going to spice things up even more as well. When it does come, people are going to have to be alert. You've got to be alert on a street circuit, as one Jolyon Palmer once said to us. Two-stop. Thank you, Carl, for reminding me as well. Two-stop still applying with the rain if it does come down. So drivers just got to be careful of that. They're going to have to keep their wits about them, because this first lap, if the sprint is anything to go by, could be the personification of comedy, but also carnage.
Yeah, hopefully we have a few more cars making it through unscathed than we did in the sprint race. But equally, let's hope for a little bit of carnage to spice things up as well. Shouldn't be too much longer, I don't think, before we are getting things going. I think everybody just trying to make those final few tweaks to their setups and strategies. But any favourites for the win here tonight? Who do you think is going to be the big one fighting for it?
Alex Gillen's a very strong front runner. That is my concern. If I'm Datka, Vince, Lolinoba, Meraki, Safso, didn't see a lap right at the end of the session, banged in a good lap to get in P5 on the grid. He's always a very canny operator, isn't he? Tim McMardock, you can never count out Tim McMardock. If you do, you are a very unwise person, I think. You'll look at that gap of half a second between himself and Gillen and think, well, he's a little bit off the pace. He is not off the pace. He has got the pace to challenge his teammate if he can work his way through the traffic. But we always like a story, don't we, as well? You've got the likes of Jorik down at the back of the pack, Kareem down at the back of the pack as well. They've got nothing to lose, realistically. They've got a big, big opportunity to try and get themselves back into not only contention, but pick up some really, really solid points. Kareem in particular, because he does need them in his championship charge. And you've got the best commentary duo to take you through the action as well. For the final time, I'll send it back over to them. It is, of course, Carl Pranick and Tom Knight.
Well, oh so kind, and the formation lap is about to get underway here in the Principality of Monaco. 3.337 kilometres is the lap distance, and a whole rainbow of tyres for our drivers to start on. Being told as well, light rain coming in about half an hour, and this is going to be a race to remember. Whether that's for the right reasons, Carl, or for the wrong reasons, regardless, we're going to be here to take you through it. All 78 laps of it, and I'm here for it.
Oh, absolutely we are. And of course, like we were saying earlier, with no Constructors' Championship as we view F1 Alex starting right in the mid-pack. Of course, with realistic cars, there's no set Constructors' Championship. There's no need to hold up the grid to do your teammate, as F1 Alex has gone in for the kill on Scott Taylor. Has he achieved it? Of course he has. But there's another car at his right-hand side. These are all the games that you don't quite see on the formation lap, and he's been caught napping, for lack of a better term. A slight graze of the Ferrari of Concept 7, and where we have less cars actually doing the formation lap than are sat on the grid currently. And that is all you really need an indication of as we head into racing.
Oh my goodness, as we see who is that straight lining the no chicane. That's Hayden Gullis, taking no prisoners with Meraki and swiftly sending him back to the grid. I think we need that meme. It's just, you get a DSQ and you get a DSQ. I think that's how we're going here for the formation lap. Let's try and count the cars if we can. We've got 7 still going, and that will be starting with warm tyres. Fortunately, the top 3 of Gillen, Lolinoba and that guy Vince will be able to try and hold on to their warm tyres, and I think Vince will be as well, kind of keeping an eye on the situation with everything developing, and hopefully no dislocated thumbs this time. But we're almost ready to race. Jeff, over their engineers and their radios, will be telling them no, please, for the love of God, no heroics into Santa Vot. The two-stop strategy is still mandatory, even if it rains, and now we have 5 lights lit on the grid. It's time to go racing in Monaco, and Gillen with an audacious pull away straight away. Vince looks to try and challenge in towards the first corner, not quite close enough. And Safso, who has been so renewed this season, trying to put moves on Meraki as they climb up through Beau Rivage towards Massenet. Safso moves into P4 for a couple of milliseconds there, can't quite get it done. And the first time of asking Riccio 3, trying to attack, or trying to hold off Timo Martin, should I say, as they try and battle it out down through Mirabeau in towards the hairpin. It's all fairly calm at the moment, and I think there's a bit of an incident with Adam Sanderson further back.
Sanderson upside down before the lowest hairpin. He's managed to recover his dignity as he heads through the Tesco car park corner for the first time. I was about to applaud them and say, well done, guys. You managed to last longer crashing than you did in the F2 race. Not much longer, though. Adam Sanderson upside down outside of Mirabeau. Alex Gillen, exactly what he needed to do. Already a 3-second time penalty. Karim 70 is up to P13 already. Absolutely otherworldly start for the Haas driver. Couldn't quite find the confidence in qualifying. But when push comes to shove, when racing comes to racing, he tries to be in another dimension. Round the outside at Raskas, he shows the nose, but Tuki has it covered at the moment.
I think someone needs to remind Adam Sanderson, this isn't skates. He's not allowed to do a barrel roll here. And definitely if he tries it, I don't know how he's managed to keep racing. That is an absolute miracle from Adam Sanderson, as that is the Williams of Tuki smashing into the wall at Sandervot. And that will be an invitation for Karim 70 to try and make moves on him nice and early as they crest up the hill through Massenet and into towards Casino. And there's surely going to be damage on that Williams. There's damage nonetheless for Karim 70. That front left end plate actually missing on the Haas. And this has been a fairly common occurrence for Karim. After he's turned the racing line off and turned some of the assists off, he just can't quite feel the balance in the car as much.
It's that double-edged sword that we were talking about before. You turn off the racing line, he's clearly showed in one lap pace. He's absolutely immensely rapid, but it's that consistency. It's can you do it over a full race distance? In this case, keep the concentration for 78 laps. And that's ultimately what lets you down when you feel like you have the confidence. As soon as you turn the racing line off, you have to reset your brain all over again. You have to spot points on the track where you can slam the brake pedal down, where you can find the confidence to pick up the throttle. It's all a balancing act, and you've just got to proceed with caution at first. Clearly the pace is there, consistency just will follow.
Someone in the chat has said Adam has reset. I have a feeling we're going to allow it because he was upside down. He quite literally has no other option to get racing again. So I'm sure we can forgive it on this occasion, because obviously that would normally bring out a safety car or probably a red flag, which we haven't seen either of those present in the F2 sprint. We ride and watch along with Lonnie Nova as he's trying to maybe put pressure on Alex Gillen here in the early stages. And who's that who's made a mistake? That's Matt 212, who's hit the wall already. Our sprint winner is really not finding time in the F1 cars.
Tuki fighting extremely hard, by the way. Karim's still not able to find a way through on the Williams driver. They've lost pretty much over a second by battling up through Casino. Matt 212 with the mistake ultimately, or getting caught up in the conundrums. Whatever the case, it's not ideal as we head on to lap number 3 of this race. Tiamat Marduk's already up 2 places. Of course, he loves the streets of Monte Carlo. Can't get enough of them. One of his favourite tracks on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken. He absolutely loves driving this place. Hasn't got a win here in Creator Series, though. That could change today.
It absolutely could. It's all or nothing at the moment, and we're being told potentially rain in 15 minutes. I think they're maybe being a bit too eager for that. We're still seeing about 25 an hour, probably closer to 22, 23, if memory serves me any correctly. Fastest laps changing hands left, right and centre as Vince takes it, and then Safso reclaims it, who's still sat in P4 after getting by Meraki. So he's had a good start so far. And we are starting to see those little glimpses of the Season 1 champion really starting to come back as Timo Marduk tries to move on Meraki. And that is absolutely superb. That is a mature overtake at the top of the hill.
Experience paying off handsomely for the Australians then station. P5 at the moment, plenty of places to pick up. The top 4 trying to find a march, but on those medium tyres, keep an eye on the V-carb driver. He could spring a surprise. Absolutely he could. Apparently we have clips in Clipbook Corner. Josh Richards, what have you got for us?
Just the one clip for now. Going to have a quick look back at what happened here for Mr. Adam Sanderson. Not the cleanest of opening last contact there from behind in turn 4, and then heading down here towards turn 5. Gets hit from behind. I think that was by one of the Haas cars. And then, yeah, as you can see, upside down. Nothing he could do here. Very unfortunate stuff, and something we haven't seen, I think, for quite a while here in the Creator Series.
have absolutely no word. It's not very often, actually it is very often I laugh on a broadcast. There's actually a whole counter for it in the Twitch chat. But I've never seen a car upside down like that. That's incredible. And I think Adam's face of disbelief definitely sums it up there. But we do watch the front three still continuing for, actually, I should say a front four with Safso involved as well. Hayden Monte starting down in a 19th place, let's not forget that. And I think he has a bit of wing damage. There was a certain little bit of end plate missing for Hayden. And it's very unsurprising considering the shenanigans we saw in that opening lap pick car.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Plenty more shenanigans to come, of course. It's only lap number 5 out of 78. We've got plenty of scores to settle. The gap at the front coming down. Position 5 to the front 4. Nearly inside of that DRS range. Made the move on Meraki previously, but he's got 4 cars to clear, including his arch nemesis, practically. It's Alex Gillen, who still leads the field. Lodding over that guy Vince Safso being ruthlessly consistent, keeping it out the barriers, doing what they need to do. But like we say, can you keep the concentration? Can you keep your head in the game for all 78 laps? Adding to that fact, there is weather on the way later on.
There absolutely is, and this is going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. And just one thing as well, I think we've got a couple of people maybe confused as to how the calendar lines up, because everyone's kind of looking at it going, oh, it should have been a mystery track, it should have been a mystery track. Technically it was. It was just announced to the drivers 24 hours earlier than it normally is to allow them time to prepare for Monaco. And the idea being it then presented us a better race, but the wild card was not told to them until an hour before we went racing. So the idea was it gave them a little bit more time to practice should they so wish, because we know Monaco is that difficult track. But of course it was still technically a mystery up until last night, and then it was up to the drivers whether they wanted to try and sweat it out or have a bit of fun. And I'm sure in Adam Sanderson's case, as he was doing a 15-hour broadcast for EA and then ran back to find those F2 cars on Monaco, I think a bit of a bittersweet moment for him here.
Even more bittersweet because he wanted his trident, didn't get his trident, and that made him very sad. But he did become Captain Smug later on, so perhaps that's all been alleviated. He is down in the doldrums though, he is plumb last, albeit absolutely scythed over at Mirabeau. Not much he could have done, bless him, but regardless, that's the way the cookie has crumbled here in Creator Series Monaco. Lap number 6 out of 78, and Meraki is just causing a bit of a train at the moment. The championship leader has Ricky 03, Scotty Designs, by the way, and Scott Taylor, the Flying Scotsmen, right in the thick of things. There's like 6 cars worth of a train from Meraki all the way down to Concept 7, and Tuki and co are not far behind either.
I think this is a massive reason why Adam's not kind of bowed out of the session so far. We know there's going to be safety cars. We know there's adverse weather coming. And we've got an update on that. 12 minutes, so roughly about 10 minutes, probably until we see the first raindrops, 12 until we start to see that DRS disabled. At least in terms of that's when we'll see probably those first pit stops onto the intermediate tyres. If they've not burned up too many in the chase for that bonus point, which is why we didn't see a lot of drivers going out for into pole position here this afternoon. And we do see that as a bit of a general trend when we come to races that we see weather being an inclement factor later on. But we ride on board with Scotty Designs, by the way, as he makes his way through. He's got Ricky 03 Meraki just in front of him. I just want to say, he's having an absolutely spectacular race so far. Qualified 7th, let's not forget that. And he is holding on to where he kind of originally started, only losing 1 position in the carnage.
He's using the realistic car to great advantage as well. Of course, has the McLaren at his disposal for today. But having the car is one thing. You've also got to have the driver underneath it to make sure that you can circumnavigate the Monaco streets all the way through this race. And for 7 laps, he's done a pretty good job so far on those medium compound tyres as well. We'll start to have a little bit of tyre talk. But good news for the medium runners. Like you say, that rain is not too far away. So perhaps using that softer tyre is a bit of a masterstroke, because they are then able to make it to the rainy period. They can use the advantage of the tyres as Hayden Gullis and Yorit get to work in the art of battle. Shows the nose, does the kick sour driver, but the Mercedes man stands firm and stands tall here in the Principality, here on lap number 8.
Of course, only 2 previous Monaco winners racing here this afternoon. Yorit with the double victory, Karim, who won, I believe, most recently, and El Guri, who no longer races with us, but of course is a previous Monaco winner. Yorik going for a bit of a send as they headed in towards Mirabeau and then in towards the hairpin as well. I think he's just finding his feet, as he has told us. He's got less than 24 hours worth of playtime on F1 25, and of course has got a considerable amount more when he did have his victories back in the day, as F1 picks up another 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Again, so nice he had to do it twice.
Well, quite right, but the thing is, he's going to set a bit of an unenviable trend if he continues this way, because it's been 8 laps, he's got 6 seconds worth of time penalties, so by the time he gets to the end of this race, he'll be finishing in, oh god, Spain, basically. It's unbelievable for the Mercedes man, but it's just remaining in the train at the moment, anything's still possible. Like you say, here at Monaco, with the weather, with the chaos, we saw it in F2, and it could easily dish itself up here. Make no mistake of that. Ride on board with the Mercedes man through Casino Square. Just having to take it a bit gingerly here. Again, we talk about balancing acts so much, but this is another one you have to do. Whether you choose to push full pelt and risk hitting the barriers, or whether you drive a bit more conservatively, but then also risk losing concentration because you are in that procession. That just makes life a little bit trickier as Tim Marduk gets a great exit out of Portier. Into P4 he goes, again using those softer tyres to great advantage, using his experience wonderfully, and that is almost a podium place for one of the Faenza cars.
Now I just did the maths in the background whilst we saw that absolutely picture perfect overtake from Tim Monic. Assuming F1 Alex gets a penalty every 4 laps, because that's what he's got at the moment, he's got 2 penalties over 8 laps, divide that's every 4 laps, he would finish the race on 59 seconds worth of penalties. You're welcome.
I love statistics like that. Nearly a whole minute worth of penalties for F1, Alex. But of course, we hope it doesn't trend that way, but at the moment, that's what the statistics say. Matt 212, though, he's got an ailing Karim 70. He's managed to dispose of Fabio, who started on the soft compound tyres. Now, the medias may have been slightly optimistic, but soft tyres, I don't know what to tell you, basically. In Pratic down in P15, losing shed loads of time. And according to our main man, T-Dub, our man on the ground, he's saying that was choreographed from Safso. Didn't want to hold Tiamat Mardik up too much. He knows he's got the softer compound. He knows he's going to fight through the field, be a little bit more aggressive. So perhaps there's an advantage to gain. Meanwhile, this is the massive caterpillar of cars. All hungry and smelling blood in the water on this man, the green machine of Meraki, who's created a nice bit of a buffer and some breathing space for our front 5.
It absolutely has. And this train, I think, is going to have a whole tailwind of chaos thrown into it when the weather does start to approach itself. You can see the clouds starting to make their way in from the harbour as Concept 7 picks up another penalty to their name. So the 10th, 11th and 12th place drivers at the moment, all with penalties concerning themselves. Maraki's got to either pick up the pace or try and work with Ricky 03 or Scotty or Scott or F1 Alex, the entire train behind him, to make their way forward. As for in Pratic, and obviously you said they started on the soft tyre, I'm going to bring back an old famous quote: the Lions do not concern themselves with tyre degradation.
Absolutely not. Killer instinct from Fabio, albeit that killer instinct has only got in P15. But Meraki, looking basically constantly behind as every single competitor looks to try and prize away what will be 6th position in this race. The battle of the green machines, Ricky 03, one of the Italian stallions, looking to gallop his way on through. However, the racehorse that is Lolinova holding down P2, and rather handsomely at that. Alex Gillen just creeping away though, as he continues to find the confidence. And that's what this race will ultimately come down to, confidence. The psychological warfare, particularly around a track like Monaco. Yes, track limits are one thing, but the barriers are another entity entirely. It caught people out in qualifying when they pushed the limits, and that was only after a matter of moments. And there's no reason why we won't see that here as well.
So here we go then, with about 5 minutes left until the rain drops. Well, let's talk about pit stops, because that's going to be a very crucial factor here in Monaco. We'll talk actually first about safety cars and VSCs. These are taken from real life statistics, so obviously take a little bit of consideration into Creator Series. So 29% for a virtual safety car, or in terms of probability, 43% in terms of a safety car probability for IRL. So maybe add maybe 10 or 20% on for Creator Series. Pit stop time though, 19.4 seconds lost, including a 2.5 second stop. The drivers will considerably drop down the order. Of course, with the rain, the entire grid will slow down rather considerably if they want to try and go slightly later on. We are expecting rain here, Carl, in the next 5 or so minutes. Surely it will be intermediates then until the rain ceases, but when that is, we're not quite sure yet. We've heard a variation of strategies in terms of weather. Some predict it's going to go rain until the end. Some say it may dry up right towards the end, with an opportunities to bolt slicks on again.
Quite right, we're as much in the dark as you are, ladies and gentlemen, that are watching this Creator Series race, so strap yourselves in. It's going to be a war of the strategic masterminds as we highlight our race leader, Alex Gillen, through the swimming pool complex he goes. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we can put a proper broadcast on. We don't need to highlight the wives and girlfriends of those on the grid. Thank you very much. through Raskas. Our producer's saying if he could, he would. Please don't. We just want to see the racing, lad. Alex Gillen across the line to start lap number 13. Unlucky for some, but he's going to keep on trying, as he might. 2.5 seconds now the gap between himself and Lolin over. That guy Vince in hot pursuit, Tiamat Marduk, is not too far behind. But you're quite right, TK. They're going to have that strategy playing about in their mind, and they can't really trust the engineer. That's what I found on this game. The engineer will say one thing, they'll say it's ready for the intermediate tyres or vice versa, but really you want to keep an eye on your lap time. How much is it waning away by? How much is the track really falling away according to your proper pace? Yes, it was foolproof in previous games. This time around though, completely different story.
I think they can trust their engineer as much as we can trust our producer behind the scenes to not say something to make us laugh. But we are running on board with Scottish Eyes, by the way. I'm expecting a pan away to someone's girlfriend in a moment, who's probably on one of the yachts in the harbour. Oh, how I wish we could probably be there and commentate, because that would be rather enjoyable for all of us. But alas, we walked aboard with the racing, which I'm sure none of you have come here to watch, right? But we are on lap 13 of 78, and it's all kind of come to a bit of a stagnation. If only there was something that could, throw a bit of a spanner in the works, such as rain.
Oh, quite. Well, guess what, TK? Right on cue, we'll be seeing it in a matter of moments' time as we complete the so-dubbed unlucky lap number 13. Wasn't that unlucky? Nobody's actually had a moment. So how about that for an anticlimax, ladies and gentlemen? Alex Gillen still leads as they head up to Casino Square. Still the pressure being piled on. I'm watching Saf so closely, though, as F1 Alex is our first man to make a pit stop. Straight onto the intermediate tyres, right on cue. How about that to spice up the affairs here in the Principality? Albeit he hasn't worried about his front wing, but I'm sure he's cooking in that department. So it's absolutely fine. Now we'll see how the strategy plays out. Gillen says the grip has dropped immediately. So, potentially, everybody having to pull the pit lane trigger in an instant.
I wonder if this might be smart from F1 Alex. If the grip has dropped considerably, you can see the train still making their way through the hairpin. And the Rebel, that was Matt 212, of course, our sprint winner in the Formula 2 car. I think one was going into the back of Tukey that was just in front of them through the hairpin. That's the slide from Concept 7. And with yellow flag, Safso's gone at a very similar place that he went the same time around. And we have got a safety car called out. And that is an Alpine blocking the circuit. Are they going to go? So they just disappear. Their tyre stays as a bit of a remnant. But Safso's got a bit of a concerned history with that corner. I believe DNFing last time we came to Monaco, or at least in Season 7, DNFing at the very same corner as Alex Gillen peels in towards the pit lane. As does Lobby Nova, as does Datko Vince, Tiamat Marduk, and everybody else. And Safso's left the session.
Absolute heartbreak, and even more heartbreak for the man who was on the bottom right of our screen. F1 Alex, who actually was gaining time on the train ahead. Gillen was not wrong, the grip absolutely, well, it got disintegrated in an instant. As Scott Taylor in the Battle of the Flying Scotsmen, he gets a 10-second penalty. Hayden Gullis gets a 10-second time penalty. It's still absolute pandemonium here in the Principality. Scotty Designs gets ahead in the pit stops. The front four are as you were, so well, basically everybody, forget it. Everybody's going to be exactly as they were when all the pit stops play out. Infratic might be held up, so he might lose a couple of positions, but that's about it. It will be as you were, as Adam Sanderson, we ride on board with him for a moment, just demonstrating how lethal the wet weather has got in a matter of moments.
Well, this is what we said earlier when he managed to find his car upside down and use some sort of magic to get himself recentered. He does have an opportunity now to come into the box, and F1 Alex, I think, smartly now comes in, gets his front wing replaced, gets a brand new set of intermediates, and goes on his way because he's got this opportunity to essentially not lose too much time by getting the front wing fixed. Adam Sanderson will join up to the back of the pack as well. Although I don't think he might necessarily want to after having that first lap incident. We ride with Maraki, though, 6 seconds off the back of the front four and trying to keep the car on the circuit. And this is where Monaco, I think, has a bit of a very unique element in the race. They head under, or head through the tunnel out of 48 down towards the Novelle chicane. You have that very dry element of the circuit where you go from a very sodden turn 8 through an incredibly dry turn 9 that will slightly dampen over time as the wet tyres run through it, into very heavy rain again on the entry to turn 10.
Quite right. You're absolutely right. How about this? Monaco, ladies and gentlemen. Might disappoint in real life, don't disappoint here. I'll tell you that for free. The order remains pretty much as you were. And like you say, Adam Sanderson has a great opportunity now. The pack will be bunched up, the racing will be neutralised. Never give up is rule number 1. when it comes to the Creator Series or any form of racing, never throw in the towel straight away, because you just don't know what opportunity could be presented. We're looking potentially at the telemetry to see if anybody has gone on to... We're seeing some words, maybe, that someone's on wet tyres. We're seeing all inters on our telemetry, which is the right call. It's not raining nearly heavily enough. But, well, there's the confirmation. Intermediate tyres for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Some fresher than others, though. Adam Sanderson has the freshest tyres. He could still win this race.
Absolutely, anybody could win this race at this moment in time, and I'm sure that's something that we'll carry on through. We're only on lap 16 of 78. Can we have a quick look at how the penalty situation as well is? Just to get some clarification, everyone's on the intermediate tyres, bar Safso, who is now out of this race. Penalties, we have got a fair few amongst the grids. We have got a 10-second penalty, I believe, for Scott Taylor after going into the back of one driver. It's going to be 3 seconds for Concept 7. 6 seconds for Tukey and 6 seconds for F1 Alex as well. I believe Hayden might have served his penalty in the pit stop, which is a very smart move under safety car to be able to get that 10-second stop go out of the way.
Yeah, it was lucky he got his 10 seconds early enough before he entered the pit lane. Scott Taylor wasn't so lucky. He got it as he was entering pit row, so no opportunity to properly clear it from his account. So the stormy cloud of the stewards remains. The stormy wet weather clouds, though, remain over Monaco. Racing neutralised here in the EA Creator Series, ladies and gentlemen. Here on lap number 16, we've had a hell of an evening of racing so far. We've had an F2 sprint race. There was a crash after out 50 yards. It was chaos. Matt212 got his first win. Qualifying was qualifying around Monaco. Of extreme importance, you get the best time on the board so far. But they haven't been afraid to hold back. Not even slightly. They have not wanted to rest on their laurels. Plenty of moves being made, and that's exactly what we want to see from the Monaco Grand Prix. And in Creator Series, like we say, they've risen up to the occasion beautifully.
They absolutely have, and we've got people, I think, naturally now talking about pit stops, because as we're aware, 2-stop, regardless of weather conditions, is still going to come into effect. I can tell you, and as our lovely producer actually puts it up on the screen, F1 Alex and Adam Santon both, let's keep that in mind, have both done their required 2 stops. Now, I don't think the intermediates will make it 50 or 60 or so laps towards the end of this race, but it is just worth bearing in mind that, in theory, if we have more safety cars, they don't have to box again to the end.
That could be quite something, and there is quite a level of tyre whispering to do if your tyres are going to last, well, crikey, the best part of 60 laps of Monte Carlo. I don't envy the task ahead of them, let's put it that way, but they're just making their way to the back of the queue. I imagine either safety car will peel in this lap once they pass through to back and into swimming pool, or they'll leave it another lap just so the Mercedes and the Ferrari can catch up to the back. And I believe that is I'm not going to hold my breath just yet. Yes, the safety car will stay out for one more lap. I'm just going to highlight someone in the chat, by the way. Hazza, I see you. He's saying, I have every point of view on my 2 monitors currently. My monitor could break down soon with all the point of views I have. Listen, first of all, that's dedication. Fair play to you. And secondly, the driver of the day is your CPU, because I have no idea how you're handling all that, but fair play to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular, and it'd be interesting to see what exactly happened to Safso. I don't think my PC's held up, but I've tried to have every point of view up, because it is, again, internet tabs and Chrome especially are very CPU intensive. We've heard inside information that Adam Santon might be going for full wet tyres. I think this could be confirmation of the fact, especially as we are going to see heavy rain, or the rain go from light to heavy in about 25 minutes. So this could be a long play from Adam, but they are going to burn up quite considerably under this light rain period. So maybe he thinks it's heavier than actually we are thinking it is here in the commentary box. Of course, me and Carl, we're under quite a lovely bit of cover, actually, as we do see the heavy rain has jumped from 25 minutes to 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's lovely in our little commentary box, ladies and
no.
gentlemen. Migrating host, that is not what we want to see, because Tiamat Marduk has left the session, and I've no idea if his stream has also crashed. I'm sure all of you will be absolutely beady-eyed and bushy-tailed on that particular occasion, but I imagine safety car will peel in at the end of this lap, unless Adam Sanderson, the game deems him not to be close enough. By the way, it was our visionary in Clipbook Corner, Mr. Josh Richards, who said someone was on wets, I think. Well, guess what? In just 5 minutes, your premonition has come true, because Adam Sanderson is on the full wet tyres, and the safety car is coming in this lap.
That is indeed. Vince has broken the curse. Thankfully, I think he is A-okay, unless we hear otherwise in the chat. Stream crash for Ben again, so yeah, I think his PC might have had a bit of a whoopsie there on lap 18 of 78. He will restart fourth. Now this could be a bit of a problem for Meraki, who will start just behind an AI car. We watch from the rear wing of Alex Gillen as Lolly Nova just gives it a little bit of a love tap, just to remind him that he's there. When's he going to launch? He'll be through 18 and 19 of Anthony Knowles. Another little love tap. See Matt Marduk's AI dives himself into the pits. And actually, that's the best thing that could have happened for Meraki. We'll go racing on lap 19 of 78 again. Gillen leads. And of course, the wet weather conditions will considerably slow this grid down now.
Could not have been worse timing for Tiamat Marduk's AI. At least have a little bit of foresight, even as a computer. Come on now. Alex Gillen through Casino Square holds the lead, but Lolin over seeming to just find his immediate confidence a little bit quicker than Mr. Alex Gillen as they head through Mirabeau for the first time in the wet conditions. Meraki not quite finding his feet straight away. Ricky piling on the pressure in that Aston Martin car as we see Tiamat Marduk heading through. His AI is actually, I think, pit back onto intermediates again. So not even pitting onto wet tyres, if that was even going to be a strategic decision. He's managed to get out ahead in front of Adam, so we'll see if one, the Ferrari driver can clear the V-car man, who has rejoined the session, and two, whether he then can break away, or whether Inters were the play all along.
Yeah, just for clarification, he did 4 laps on a set of the intermediates, obviously when the safety car first came out. The AOs then pitted him for another set of intermediates. Maybe he just felt like they wanted a fresh set to make their way through. Maybe there was a bit of damage they were repairing on Ben's car if they had a bit of front wing damage, because I'm fairly sure they're susceptible to actually going for that. Yellow flags in the second set. Can't quite see anything worth writing home about, but it is Gillen that still leads as Alex picks up another 3-second time penalty to add to his tally now. I think that makes him on 9. So my prediction could be coming true here, Carl. 60 seconds to the end. What do we reckon?
Oh, you know what? It's possible, but he's got to get a move on with it. Not that we're egging you to get on penalties, but it would be quite funny. But through lap number 20 we go. Lolin over is on an absolute goose chase up the hill. It's nice weather for ducks, and Lolin over is ducking and diving, weaving this way and that way, sliding on through Casino Square. Can't quite get the exit though. You can hear the rear tyres screaming for grip as he heads up towards Mirabeau now, taking a slightly wider line, whether that's by choice. Ricky 03, meanwhile, his teammate, does get past Meraki. Told you he thought about, well, he managed to find his confidence in the wet conditions quicker than the lean green machine behind him, and that's confirmation. The two Italians, 2nd and 4th here.
Absolutely running through this Grand Prix at the moment as Yorit and Hayden seem to be having a good old scrap for unlucky 13th on the grid, still side by side as they head down through Portier and in towards the extremely dry tunnel, where you've got to be oh so cautious with your tyres. Running wide is an absolute mistake as almost Yorit does go barrel rolling in towards Hayden Gullis. They're down towards the Novell chicane they go. Yorit, I think, has to remove himself from the position. Will have to settle for 14th on track at the moment. Karim 17 looks to have got the better of Matt 212. I think Matt all thought about a move as they headed in towards that section through 14 and 15 of the Paul section, and it is emphatic in that beautiful pink and white Haas livery that he makes his way in towards the final few corners of the Raskas, just behind Matt 212 and Karim 70. It's all just holding on, I think, at the moment. It's status quo remaining. Of course, most of our drivers will still have to make at least one more mandatory pit stop before lap 78, and I do wonder if we're going to see anyone go on lap 78, as a heavier rain is expected in the next 10 minutes or so.
Adam Sanderson could win this race yet, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hedge your bets just yet. He is on the full wet tyres. Tiamat Marduk, though, he's back in the session. He's already gained about 5 seconds. Make that more, because F1 Alex makes a mistake, I believe, as he made his way out of turn number 1. So the V-car driver absolutely flying. He's got the same job to do as he did. Oh, F1 Alex is out! Crashes out of Casino Square, and that will be another safety car. Once again, racing neutralised. A second driver caught out by the claustrophobic barriers at Monte Carlo.
We've heard Gillen's had a bit of an issue in the lead of this race. He's run out of disc space, whilst I'm assuming he's trying to record this Grand Prix. So I do wonder if he's going to come to AI and try and sort that all out. But what a place and what a time to do it, as he does stand up at the top. This is certainly turning into an interesting race though, folks. 2 DNFs, 1 down. They headed towards the Novell chicane of Safso. And of course, F1 Alex, who found misery out of Casino up at turn 4. We're down to 18 drivers. I honestly was expecting less drivers to make their way through at this point. We're about a third of the way through the Grand Prix already, 21 of 78. And of course, heavy rain is expected in about 10 minutes' time. So I wouldn't be surprised if anyone uses their second mandatory pit stop to go in for a set of full wet tyres.
Couldn't agree more. It's entirely possible. But, I mean, you don't get coverage like this on any other F1 broadcast, surely. Running out of disc space in a Creator Series race. I've never heard that one before, but what a time to do it. As the safety car, there's Virtual Burn Mylander, picks up the field, as Hayden Gullis gets ahead of Infratic. Under safety car, I think that is. That was rather interesting, but he's holding position for now. Never mind, just a bit of mental game, psychological warfare being played. Mercedes man here with plenty of artillery in the back pocket in terms of psychological battles. Just showing Infratic he is there. Be careful, my friend. You never know what trick I have up my sleeve.
This show has certainly become everything, I think, let's put it that way, as we do see the status quo being redeemed once again. Rain's still here and will be for, I think, the next half an hour or so, and there are some drivers on the podium that we may not have expected. Gillen, Lolinova and Takai Finch, but still a long way to go in this race. 66 laps to be precise, after 22 have been completed. No, I put my maths all wrong. There was 56 laps to go. It's been a long day already. We already had a sprint and qualifying to deal with, and now a wet weather race is certainly not something that I think me and Carl are going to have to use all of our brain power to try and figure out what is going to happen.
Quite right. Lap number 22 here, highlighting Lolinova, who's been staring at the rear wing of Alex Gillen the entire race. Luckily, if he can't actually fix his disc space issue, then you never know. Storage Gremlins might promote Lolinova to P1. Don't count that out of the occasion either. Don't count anything out, for goodness sakes. I mean, we've said it so many times. But the amount of elements that they're having to deal with, they're having to deal with water, they're having to deal with fire, the humidity under pressure in the race. But the biggest element they've got to master today, unbelievably, is the element of surprise. As Tukey heads into the pit lane, how about that for a slight addition to the surprise factor? What tyres does the Williams man choose? He goes for a new set of intermediate tyres.
It absolutely does, and probably makes sense if he wants to try and continue running them through, although he has paused in the pit lane, deciding not to come out quite yet. He does finally get going again after he gives Adams Hansen the position, who stands in 17th. Still the only driver to opt onto a set of the full wet tyres, and as you said, it's going to be, I think, a whole race of internet and PC issues for all of our drivers. Gillen's got storage space. Ben's got issues with whatever's going on at Ben's house. I think we had Jorrit van Geffen losing force feedback slightly earlier on as well. So a whole host of issues for a whole host of the drivers. I think we're going to head it over to Josh Richards in Clipbook Corner. He's got a little something for us.
Yeah, just a quick look at what has caused this safety car here. F1 Alex, another DNF to his name, unfortunately, going deep into turn 1. I don't think he actually picked up damage from that. Maybe he's already missing his wing and we can't see it. It's sat behind his back, I think. And then, not too sure what happens here. Riding the walls, it seems, as he makes his way through turn 3, doing his best Scott Taylor impression, and then puts it into the barriers down at Casino Square. That is why we have this safety car here, going to spice this up a little bit more.
Well, what a way to exit out of the race. And we've been told safety car is in this lap as all of our drivers approach and bump back up to one another. Now it's roughly about a good time to let us know who you're supporting in a live chat, especially as we've got pretty much all of Ben's viewers here, as his stream, I'm being told, has not resumed quite yet. But at least once we've got all those drivers, let us know who you're supporting and why is it Tia McMardick?
He's been through everything, really, hasn't he? He really has, but safety car restart, we are going to be back underway again. Gillen leaving it as late as possible. Thinks about a good exit out of the final corner. That's traditionally what you would do. People have to be careful not to be caught out here, as it's very, very, very pedestrian as they head through the restart, and Gillen puts the pedal to the metal, foot to the floor, and that looked precariously slow, but we'll cast our aspersions for later. Karim 17 with a 3-second time penalty, and we're back racing here in Monte Carlo. Gillen leads, Lolly second, that guy Vince in third, Ricky in fourth, Meraki in fifth, Scotty Designs, by the way, is up to P6. Unbelievable stuff. Karim 17 has got 7 in his name, and it's 7 by nature. He's in P7. Scott Taylor is out, Concept 7 in 9th, and Matt 212 is fighting tooth and nail to try and get round the team he has become accustomed to in the realistic cars foray. A bit of contact as they head into the lows. There have been a more argy-bargy between the two drivers as Matt 212 looked to blaze on the power to get the rotation, and it was just a little bit too much.
He has to drop through the order there, and of course all 18 cars going pretty much into the same space here. We head into the dry tunnel once again, riding on board with Matt 212, the sprint winner in the F2 cars, who was so elacious coming in for an interview with our very own Tom Wilkinson, and now watching Fratic trying to get the best of Concept 7. Of course, Concept racing in the car that Fabio was most known for racing in the Creator Series in season gone by, so we'll be wanting to try and outprove and outrace the Ferrari on equal grounds here in Monaco, when pretty much the realistic performance is somewhat nullified with how close the grid is going to be. Chelsea Gaming picks up a 3-second penalty, as does Matty D13. Drivers all across the board picking up penalties left, right and centre, and Timo Mardo making the better of Matty D13 up the inside as they headed through the Raskas in towards Anthony Knowles, and it's 2-2 between Tuki and Matty D13. Surely that never ends well, and Chesnoid Gaming I think wants to get the better of Matty. I wonder if that Alpine has a bit of damage. It doesn't look like it. Let's put that down to a skill issue.
Well, quite. Great opportunism. Tiamat Marduk making an outstanding overtake. And Tuki saying, you know what? So nice, let's do it twice. Through he went as well. Fantastic stuff. Karim 17 loves the wet weather conditions. Can't get enough of them. He always finds such strength, particularly in adverse conditions such as these. He has still got that front wing damage, remember, but he's putting Scotty Designs, by the way, under an immense amount of pressure. But again, that cork in the bottle looks to be Meraki in no real rush to try and make moves happen. So he will just optimise the exits, conserve the tyres where he can, and make the most of the wet weather conditions, keep him in a consistent P5 at the moment.
Absolutely, and Meraki, I think, as he said, he knows it's a long race. He's a very experienced driver in the Creator Series, a veteran. So to speak, a previous champion, let's not forget. So he knows that these sort of situations, it is just about surviving in a good enough position to be able to make a comeback at the final few laps of racing. He'll sit quite happily in P5. He's got Scotty behind him, he's got Karim behind him, he's got Taylor for the likes and examples. But he's quite content in P5. He doesn't want to get caught up with the fighting that's going on ahead of him. Ricky, Vince, Ollie Gillen, they're all scrapping it out, trying to essentially decide this race on lap 26-27. Meraki knows there's more than half a race to go here. It's all about being sensible, keeping that front wing intact, and making sure the car can do all 78 laps. It's quite infamously, to finish first you have to finish.
Couldn't put it better myself. And you know what? There's honestly been so much action this race. You can scarcely believe it's not even halfway through this race. Only lap 26 here in Monte Carlo, which means, if my maths is correct, we are a third of the way through this Grand Prix. How about that? But Lolin over, still not able to find and make the moves. Gillen, again, that's the thing you have to do as the lead car. Prioritise the exits. Just use the rear tyres, point the car exactly where you want it to, and then dart out of the corner as quickly as possible. As we ride on board with Mr. Hayden Gullis, as he looks to be in pursuit of Fabio as they head through the tunnel. Nice and dry, tyres will get roasty and toasty for a brief moment, and the cool, refreshing water will just cleanse them as they head into the Nobel chicane. For the 26th time this race, 18 drivers surviving, 2 people we have lost, one of which at that corner, Safso, lost earlier on in the race as it was just transitioning to the intermediate conditions, and F1 Alex, well, quite clearly done with proceedings. He had enough of the Monaco procession, and he bowed out as well as Hayden Gullis gets great traction out of the second part of swimming pool, tries to slalom round the outside, and well, it's almost a show-stopping manoeuvre, but still can't quite find the grip where it matters most. That gives Matt 212 the impetus to try and make a move, but Hayden Gullis blazes on the electrical energy, makes Fabio defend to the inside, and can he have the run up the hill into Casino Square?
Is almost hailing here in Monaco, and you can see Hayden putting pressure on Fabio. He loves it in towards this corner, tries to send it to the inside with at least a wheel, but that could be a day late and $1 short, and Matt 212 could be there to try and sweep up the pieces. Hayden's not done yet though. They head down the hill and towards Mirabeau, towards the hairpin. Hayden tries to move around the outside, which will tend itself to the inside, but there's a bit of a hustle and a bustle between the two of them. Fabio leaves the inside, Hayden sends it down saying thank you very much, but actually leaves the inside open once again as they head in towards Portier. Matt 212 with a fantastic move there to find himself up into P7. Oh, and they both end up in the wall. Matt 212 not leaving space on the exit, and they are stuck against the wall, dropping through the order.
About to say shades of Hulkenberg in 2014 as he dived down the inside at Portier, but not to be. Matt 212 and Hayden Gullis, particularly Matt 212, tail hanging in between his legs, salt in the wounds and everything in between. At least salt kind of works in water. So back to the front of the field. Scotty Designs, by the way, Still in well, he's down to P7 now because Karim 17 has been pretty diligent in the overtaking department. He's through into P6 and has got Meraki again losing touch with the front four of this race as Gillen just gets a bit overconfident on the power, just blazing the rear tyres, at least a little crumb of action being dished out to his competitors behind, and that's all the impetus they'll need to try and catch him, but Gillen looks in complete control at the moment.
It absolutely does, and it was something I think we knew coming into this Grand Prix, that especially being in a V-carb, that he didn't have that sort of punishment and the penalty being all the way down the Sauber like the likes of Meraki and Nora Van Gefferen, who you've got to feel somewhat bad for. Yes, he's a two-time winner here, but of course, in the limited number of races that he's partaken in, and we can get that number up for you. Joris actually taken part in 20 races in the Crate Series. He's got one of the best averages in terms of points scored, at least over Season 10. So this is why he's been put so far down the order in terms of the cars. So you've got to feel a little bit bad for him being thrown into a Sauber so early in the season. Somewhat relieved for Gillen that he's not been able to, or not been put in the Sauber here for today's racing. But you can see just how heavy this rain is getting. Definitely been confirmed by the game to have been heavy rain for at least the next 30 minutes of racing, so probably around 15 or so laps, as Adam Sanderson picks up a 3-second penalty for cutting the corner one too many times, although he is down to P13 trying to hold off Tukey at the moment. But we watch on board here with Matt 212 trying to chase the back of Chesnoid Gaming, who's in one of the fastest cars on the grid. We've got Rebel Western McLaren, a very similar story, but not one you'd expect to see down in 15th place of this Grand Prix. Matty D13 not far off the back of this battle, neither is Hayden Gullis after that earlier contact between himself and Matt 212. But I think, again, they've just got to realign themselves. Remember that the race is greater than 36 laps. This isn't going to be just a short sprint for them. They've got to remember that longevity, and that remember they're racing multiplayer cars.
Photo Wolf slamming headphones on the desk going, it's a marathon, not a sprint, lads. What are you doing? The battles, though, but Karim 17 all over. Championship leader Meraki shows the nose to the inside of the Lowe's hairpin. You'll note, by the way, we're watching Matt 212 look to try and get an excellent exit at the exit of the Novelle chicane, but off the racing line, there's hardly any grip available. It's a bit of a paradox, really, because in real life, the rubber on the racing line actually sort of hinders your progress, that you see them taking these alternative lines to get the most water into the tyres to make sure they have the best purchase possible. Here, though, that's not the case at Monaco in F1 25, and so you just have to be a little bit more savvy to using the racing line, although Matt 212 has another chance. Round the outside at the tunnel. Plenty of space left there that time. A yellow flag behind, though, as Chesnoy backs right off and Matt 212 blazes the braking zone, and that's a 10-second time penalty for cutting the Novelle chicane.
I don't quite know what happened. I'm sure Josh Richards will be able to get us a full picture and an insight as to quite what happens in towards the Novelle chicane. But of course, Chesnoy Gaming losing the pace to Hayden Gullis after being passed by Matt 212. So I'll leave that up to the chat to make any assertions as to what happens until we get confirmation. But Matty D13, of course, being passed by Matt 212, I believe, out of the Novelle chicane. So he got a 10-second penalty for it. But he somehow managed to make a position in doing so, which I'm not quite sure how he's allowed to keep that.
Well, quite. And that's a conversation we can have amidst the many other conversations, ladies and gentlemen. We're only on lap number 30. If there's any particular highlights of your race, people watching at home, please do let us know, because there have been many, many monumental moments at the Monaco Grand Prix, and it's only lap number 30. I'm a poet, you didn't know it. That guy Vince looking to settle the script and write words on this race that will surely go down in Creator Series folklore. He has one job, though, and that's overtake Lolin Ober, who is just losing touch with Alex Gillen. Took him a little bit to find his confidence, but once he's found it, he simply never looked back. A switch back at Portier, meanwhile, says Matty D, just to add to the absolute pandemonium of action that we have seen all the way through. Not going to happen on this occasion. Hayden Gullis has it covered.
Still coming left, right and centre. Tukey with another 3 seconds to his name as we watch Karim 17 still attempting the wheel flicks as they head through Raskas with Meraki just in front of him. He wants to be, well, wants to pop that cork in the boss. He wants to try and keep clear of Meraki, but I don't think he's able to have that straight line speed. And certainly we know Karim is not the type to just send it sort of a little bit audaciously into a corner, maybe try and force his way through. So he's quite content just sitting there until that move presents itself. And Meraki just taps the barrier ever so slightly, running up Beau Rivage towards Massenet. It is going to be interesting when I think dive bombing coming, and it has come here as Karim 70 round the outside of Casino on Meraki. and he has got the move done. Raki will have to settle for P6 now, but Karim still with that penalty. He has an opportunity to try and pull forwards to the likes of Ricky 03, albeit with a 3-second deficit. Meraki to the inside of a hairpin, doesn't quite have the traction to try and challenge. They make their way down towards Mirabeau, through Portier and into the tunnel.
Yeah, finally made it happen. You can feel the anticipation brewing between the two of them for a long, long time. But Karim now has clear track ahead of him. 3.5 seconds to make up on the likes of Lolinova, that guy Vince and Ricky 03. And he can just get his eye in once again. Whilst he's acclimatising to having no racing line at his disposal, he goes a little bit askew at the Novell chicane, but still very much on the bitumen and carries on his merry way. We'll see how that gap unfolds. Like you say, has front wing damage, but loves the wet conditions. So, bit of a battle to have mentally once again. Meanwhile, other battles, Tiamat Marduk is back up to P11. Next person to tick off the list, he's got Fabio ahead of him.
I think Ben's fighting maybe 2 battles here at the moment. One with Fabio in front of him, one with his PC to make sure that you can actually see out this race as they make their way through. It's P10 at the moment for Fabio, P11 for Tiamat Marduk in just 5 seconds down the road. Europe Van Heffen in P12 for the Kicksaubers, the trailing Kicksauber at the moment. I do hear in my little corner that Josh Richards has got the lowdown on what has happened to Matt 212 and the incidents that occurred.
Done it again. I'm really not good at this, am I? A couple incidents here for Matt 212. The first one we saw, Hayden was battling with Infratic, trying to make the move here throughout this middle sector. Bit of contact there heading into the hairpin, and then a little bit more here at the apex as well as he got stuck up on the inside curb. I think we've got a safety car as well. Something's happened.
We have. We'll come back to you, Josh. Apologies for that. I saw the track map had turned yellow in the bottom right-hand side of the live screen. Now we have to play the fun game of who in chat spotted what happened. Carl, do you have any idea?
I guess Chesnoy, because he's 39 seconds behind and way off the rest of the pack. Bless him. I imagine that's probably the root cause, but we'll soon find out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure all of you have been paying full attention to proceedings as through goes Chesnoy Gaming to catch back up with the rest of the pack. Looks like his car's relatively intact, so whether he just had a spin and couldn't quite flick it around, regardless. Oh, Hayden has no wing. Well, there you go. Hayden, well, I mean, it's not exactly ideal in the aerodynamics department, but that probably will be why.
Well, I mean, if it's good enough for Concord on the Droop Snoop, maybe Mercedes are just trying to invent something new here in Monaco?
Yeah, the Droop Snoop, the Snoot Droop. How about that? It's a hell of an invention, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Alex Gillen has led from lights out so far, but he's got another safety car to play with. A third tour of the streets of Monaco behind Bernd Mailander. And, well, I don't know if he'll be tired of seeing the safety car yet, but plenty of drivers flocking into the pit lane. Adam Sarnason, one of them, and he's going for a new set of the wet compound tyres. Has to wait a little bit as the Red Bull peels into pit row, but a new set of wets for the Ferrari driver. That is a bold call. Tukey goes on to wets as well. Potentially Matt 212. Oh, and Hayden Gullis, you had no front wing. You've now got a drive-through penalty. And if, like, I've said salt in the wounds multiple times today, but, I mean, come on. That is, like, the icing on the cake right there for the Mercedes man. In all the penalties that we've had, that is sucker punch.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And of course, a reminder, if you are just tuning in and you're new to Formula 1, we'll try to explain this as best we can. Obviously, you can't take drive-throughs under safety car periods. Any other penalty, such as the 10 seconds, you can serve under safety car or VSC conditions. However, you cannot serve a drive-through, unfortunately, under those safety car conditions. So Hayden will have to wait until green flag racing becomes a factor. And of course, he is starting from what will be 17th place and then drop quite considerably off the back of the pack. But everything else is now joined on wet tyres. Is Adam Sanderson by Tukey 10 in the Williams just behind him. And we are under heavy rain conditions for the next 22 or so minutes. And now, whilst we have got the safety car out, and I've been told Josh Richards has been prepped and ready to go, that he has got the Hayden clip, let's throw it back over to him in clip corner. Josh, let's try that again, shall we?
Hopefully we won't get any interruptions. We'll pick up back where we left off. Hayden Infratic having this battle. Matt 212, opportunistic dive up the inside there. Still alongside here. Just gets a little slide there, and that contact, unfortunately, put them both in the wall, taking them sort of out of contention. We can have a quick look from Matt's POV as well, as he was watching this battle taking place in front of him. Just sitting behind, watching as they make contact. Sees a chance to go around the outside here, trying to get a bit of a better run. dives it up the inside. Bit of a love tap there with Hayden. And now we will see, unfortunately, just as he gets the power on in first gear, small slide takes them both into the barrier and out of that battle. We also had the crash here between Matt and Chesnoid. Matt getting a really great run coming out of the tunnel. Chesnoid getting pinched up on the wall there on the inside, turned in a little bit too late. Unfortunately, clipped the side of the Red Bull, picked up a little bit of damage. And last but not least, from Mr. Hayden Gullis himself, this is why we are back under safety car conditions as he made his way out of the final corner. Out there a bit on his own. I've just noticed as well, Hayden has -5 laps of fuel, so maybe some fuel saving to come into play for him later on. Just missed the braking point heading into turn 1, hit the barrier on the outside of turn 1, and the safety car coming out as a result.
He looks rather smug for someone that just pulled the safety car out, but thank you, Josh, as always, for being our ear to the ground, especially from all of these creative streams, and trying to keep an eye on what exactly is going on, because there is a lot to go on here, especially when Hayden Gullis is driving around this circuit at considerable numbers of miles an hour, Carl.
I'm muted, it's an absolute farce. Someone else had to do it. I'm doing it in solidarity with you, Josh. You're welcome, mate. Lap number 35, I mean, yeah, you're quite right. When you have a Hayden Gullis going at Formula 1 speeds around Monaco, anything can happen. And as you can see, it usually does. We have a third safety car for today. And kind of at this point, as we head towards the fulcrum point of Monte Carlo, I guess we have to decide who looks to be in the pound seat to potentially win this race. I think you'd have to put Alex Gillen right at the forefront of that conversation. He's led since lights out. He hasn't put a foot wrong so far this race. But then we look at his teammate as well. Timoet Malik, he's made another pit stop during this safety car. And he's been scything through cars left, right and centre. He's been the one that's really found the most opportunities to overtake here in the streets of the Principality. So I wouldn't write him off either, not for 1 second.
Being told in the background that Tom Wilkins has let us know that Ben's trying to sweet talk Adam to not fight him. Of course, they're sitting in P12 and P13 and Adam's now the only driver on full wet tyres after Tukey did 1 lap on them and then pitted onto a fresh set of intermediates. So whether that's a mistake from Tukey or maybe just a bit of a tactical change of tyres to maybe serve a penalty. So we will never know. But of course, the driver down in 15th place has now driven on three different compounds of tyres. He's used, I believe, the hard, the inters, and the full wets over the course of this 35 lap. We are approaching half race distance, and that will hit at lap 39 or so. But it will be an interesting restart here if Timoet Malik appeals and manages to play on the heartstrings of Adam Sanderson in front.
You never know, anything's possible. The V-car man, Adam, like you say, the lone driver on the wet weather tyres. But the sweet talk might be one thing, but if the conditions do lend themselves very favourably to the wet weather tyres, then Adam, I feel like, would be rather reluctant to let him through. He's going to feel like, I can sight through cars, I'm not giving you a chance to potentially steal my thunder on that one. So that guy, Vince, just getting some temperature into the rear tyres, a bit of a shimmy and a slide out of turn number 1, as we wait for Chesnoid just to finally latch on to the back of this pack, which will surely confirm that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. We'll be back to racing once again for what will be, well, we've included 3 safety cars, the 4th time we'll be back to full speed running here at Monte Carlo. There's your penalty situation. It's a grim read. We do apologise.
It absolutely is. 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 9 seconds for Tukey. A drive-through for the only Hayden Gullis, and a 3 second just to be the icing on the cake for Chesnoid Gaming. Just to keep you all updated as well, 4 pit stops is what Adam Sanderson has done over this race so far. Again, if we break down the maths, he could achieve 8 pit stops by the end of the race, although correlation does not equal causation, and we will not probably expect him to do an entire 8 stops in this Grand Prix. We will hear from Tom Wilkinson in a few laps' time, just give us his sort of half-race breakdown from where he's been sat up in the presenter's box. But at the moment, we're ready to go racing on lap 37 of 78. So near to half race distance here, Carl. I think all of our drivers are probably getting into that endurance mindset again.
To agree with you, Monaco, very much an endurance of the mind as it is the endurance of actually driving, as that guy Vince immediately shows a statement of intent to Lolinova, who was rapid off the last restart, put pressure on Alex Gillen, and then nothing more once those first couple of laps eroded. But when does Alex pull the trigger this time? The answer is he does not back the field up, and he's done an absolutely great restart. So we are back to racing. Here at Monte Carlo, there was a 10-second time penalty for Chesnoid, I think that was. So add that to the tally, ladies and gentlemen, as they head through turn 1 for the 37th time. And I tell you what, that is a phenomenal power slide from one Lolinova.
It's actually 13 seconds worth of penalties now for Chesnoid Gaming as he does get past Hayden Gullis, who I believe might have gone into service pit drive-through. No, maybe not on the first time of asking, but he does reclaim the position from Chesnoid further back. But Gillen, what a fantastic restart. Maybe played on the minds of the drivers that were around him. Last time they all maybe expected him to go incredibly slowly up towards the line, and this time he did the exact opposite. Went as soon as he was free and clear from Anthony Knowles, turn 19, and sprinted as fast as he can down towards turn 1 at Santa Devot and got himself a 1.2 second advantage to the Italian stallion of Lolinova that is behind him. You can see drivers starting to struggle, I think, on their tyres. 22 lap old are the tyres of, what is that, the top 11 drivers down to Jorik van Heffen, the Sauber in 11th place. And yeah, you can see the graphic up on your screen there. They are going to start to struggle a little bit, especially as the heavy rain is still with us. The dry line has somewhat disappeared under the slower running of the safety car conditions. Of course, that tarmac, that rubbered in section, when it becomes to rain, will become very slippery. It's why you see drivers go offline quite a lot of times in the wet weather conditions.
Well, his first stint on the wet tyres didn't quite cook as he would have hoped it, but Adam Sanderson's got a great opportunity here, piling immense amounts of pressure once again on another car, this time Jorik in P11. Through the final corner they go, not quite working, and because he's taken it a bit gingerly, perhaps Tiamat Malik has a chance. He closes in 1.5 tenths. That gap still closing as they head into turn number 1, and is that Tiamat Malik down the inside as Adam Sanderson is in the wall? Front wing damage from the Ferrari driver. I think Ben showed the nose, and ultimately Adam Sanderson may have been skirted wide by that particular attempt. But Benjamin Daly through into P12, looking to make progress once again. He's got the freshest intermediates out of anybody. He's the lead in that queue, so he could quite possibly carve his way through the field.
Any hopes and prayers I think Timo Mardik had that he wasn't going to be fought by Adam swiftly went out the window as they headed in towards Santa Devot for lap 38 of 78 here in the Monegasque Grand Prix, and that is going to be resulting in Adam probably taking his 5th pit stop and a brand new set of tyres as well. Or maybe if he's not got any brand new set of tyres, at least an old and used set of tyres. We ride with Matt 212 still on the intermediate tyres down towards the Novell chicane as we have a bit of a game freeze there, and we hop back on board, I believe, with Alex Gillen up in the lead of this race. Chesnoid Gaming 10-second penalty for a collision with Matt 212. Tukey getting a 3-second warning for multiple track limits violations. We do see them all start to peel through. Larascas, these are all the penalties that are coming back through from earlier.
I was about to say, unless Hayden Gullis has managed to get 2 drive-through penalties, which is an achievement, I will say that much. If he managed to get 2 drive-through penalties, that is some kind of achievement, and I don't exactly know how to commemorate the occasion. But we are officially halfway through this Grand Prix, which is pretty nice, ladies and gentlemen, and Alex Gillen has led since lights out. Lolinova, that guy Vince, Ricky 03, they have been gorilla glued to each other in the art of combat, but Karim 7T has now joined the party. In these wet conditions, managed to remove himself of the cork of Meraki that was in the bottle. He's now got Scotty Designs to deal with, but through the Lowe's hairpin they go. Ricky basically pushing the Williams driver through this complex of corners.
You quite often get drivers that are somewhat more confident than others on full wet conditions. We see Tukey and Matty D13 going side by side in towards the hairpins. This is some fantastic racing that the wet weather conditions are bringing out. I think the game is trying to remind us that we are within the intermediate pit window. I'm sure that's what it's trying to remind us of. As we see him frantic in towards the Novell chicane, just slamming on the anchors quick enough to not go into the back of Concept 7. As they make their way now down through Tabac and through Louis Chiron, which has some fantastic named corners, I must admit. And Carl, this is going ever so slightly off topic in the meantime. I think Monaco has some of the best named corners on the calendar.
I could not agree more with you. I mean, you got what? San Devot, Larascas, Massenet, Casino, Mirabeau, the Nouvelle Chicane. It's just beautiful, and it's a track with such heritage, and every corner has a story attached to it in one way or another. Went through Rascas a few moments ago, many stories at La Rascas, of course one of the most infamous ones being Michael Schumacher basically parking it there in qualifying, which thwarted Fernando Alonso getting pole position. The day after, he got shunted right to the back of the grid. Did very well to make his way back into, I think it was P5 in the main event. But even so, talk about a way to spring controversy. Just park it at Raskas. If you did it with these kind of cars, it actually would work. No one would get through. But in that time, there was enough room. So, all is well that ends well.
Steve Donaldson in the YouTube chat said Meraki Bow is my favourite. I think that's what we're renaming Turn 5, isn't it? Because technically we've got two Mirabeaus. We've got Mirabeau Hort and Mirabeau Bass, Turn 5 and 7 respectively. Tom Wilkinson's asked if we can get them in a French accent. I'm going to say no, just to avoid offending the French in the chat, because that would almost certainly end up on some news article as to how badly an Englishman has butchered the accent. And I'd rather not get cancelled here this afternoon. But we still proceed as normal, lap 40 of 78. And Carl, I think if you agree with me here, probably a good time to actually get Mr. Wilkinson in to have a bit of a chat and see how it's gone from his perspective up in the presenting box.
Couldn't agree more. Over to Tom Wilkinson, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen. First of all, have to say, all three of you, yourselves and Josh in Clipbook Corner, smashing it, as we would expect from the three of you. But yes, 41 laps in. You would imagine looking at it, Alex Gillen comfortable out in front. It's been quite the dull race, but that does not tell the full story. We started in the dry, and the heavens very much opened after 15 laps. And realistically, we have had a few drivers fall by the wayside. Kareem 17, the main one, with a big fight, but we have got a yellow flag out in Sector 1. So just hold your horses there, because I'm waiting to see if there might be a safety car called out, which would just disrupt the flow ever so slightly. And no, we don't. So I will continue on my way. Yes, Alex Gillen very, very comfortable out in front. A champion's drive from Gillen, looking to pick up his first victory in Monaco. However, Tim Marduk, his teammate, had got through pretty nicely. Starting from P6, got up into 4th place. But then the second time this evening that his game has crashed, he's had some internet issues, dropped him all the way to the back of the pack. Finds himself now residing in position 11, having muscled his way past two of his sparring partners in Adam Sanderson and Jorrit van Geffen. Two retirees, both of them pitching it into the barriers as well. Safso on the run into the Nouvelle chicane, chipping off that front left tyre and ending his day rather early. And F1 Alex tried some wall riding in the first sector, didn't exactly go to plan, and he was met with the full force of the barrier going through Casino Square as well. That is why we're down to 18, but there have been a number of other incidents as well. Hayden Gullis in the walls, Cheswood gaining as well, going backwards down the tunnel, which isn't necessarily a particularly favourable way to try and make your way through one of the scariest parts of the Formula One calendar. Alex Gillen, though, comfortable out in front. Lolinoba's been very impressive, as we see. Ches going into the barrier there through the swimming pool section. Masty 13, though, very kindly there, opting not to overtake him. So some sportsmanship going on in the battle for P16 and 17 outside of the point-paying position. We've also seen some very nice moves, though. Kareem 17 has got his elbows out on a number of occasions, doing very well, considering he's had front wing damage since lap 2 when he ran into the back of Tukey, who smacked the wall going through Sandoval. He pulled a lovely pass on Meraki. Tim McMulloch has been making moves left, right and centre. Matt 2-on-2 has tried a couple as well, but that didn't go particularly well for our sprint winner down in P14, now having a bit of a tete-a-tete with Hayden Gullis a few laps ago. But Alex Gillen does look like the favourite. Lolinoba and Datkovitz looking to pick up podiums as well. Ricky 03, another driver, finished 3rd when he raced here in F2 back on F1 24, so that's got some decent history around this circuit, but we'll have to deal with Kareem 17 and Meraki, the new championship leader, of course, in the remaining 36 laps of this Monte Carlo Grand Prix. And I can see that you're asking me to try the French accent. I do have a French GCSE. Speaking was one of my better parts of it. However, I'm not going to treat you to my ability to speak French.
Absolutely. See, I thought for a moment there we were going to get Tom Wilkinson giving us the supple French pronunciations of all the correct turns of this Monegasque circuit. Maybe we'll save that for another day as Matty D retires at the exit of the Nouvelle chicane, and that brings out what will be a virtual safety car for the afternoon. So track racing is somewhat nullified and drivers will have to slow down to 60% of race speed. Luckily for most drivers, lucky for Alex Gillen, let's put it that way, not all of the pack will bunch up again. It is just a maximum racing speed they're allowed to go, as Adam Sanderson, I think, was in the pits, but wasn't in the pits. A very similar thing was with Ferrari last week. Maybe it's a new strategy they've got that we don't quite know about, Carl.
Oh, who knows what strategy Ferrari have got at this point, honestly. Answers on a postcard because he can't write it. Chesnoid into the pit lane. There's another front wing. Okay, his end plate's fallen off in the pit box. Chesnoid, as it turns out, is not going to have a new front wing. Cope and Seed back to the front of the field. Oh God, this race has had absolutely everything. By the way, Mr. Tom Wilkinson, déception massive là-bas, Tom Wilkinson. As bonjour, bienvenue dans la série créateur. C'est incroyable, mesdames et messieurs. Oh, sorry, I forgot this is an English broadcast. Well, I tried, ladies and gentlemen, but we're on the VSC. Adam Sanderson's got a drive-through penalty for speeding on the VSC. And there's another one for the collection.
I think Tom said, can I come in? I'm not sure if he's wanting to come into the broadcast.
It was just a discussion about French. I feel like I've been one up there by Carl, so I feel like I almost feel like I can never show my face here again after that.
I can't say it was my own work, to be honest with you, but
it was very impressive.
Special.
Oh, thank you.
It was very impressive. I'll leave you to it though. Enjoy the French.
Thank you very much, Tom. Well, and if I'm just going to, add my little tidbit to the broadcast. I actually presented the opening statement of the first ever Creator Series meme awards in French. If you want to go back and have a look at that, it's on the channel of Scotty Designs, by the way. But as we progress with this race, and Chesnoid came and getting probably one of the most bizarre front wing incidents that we've ever seen, and we'll have to presently drive around with 9/10 of a front wing. We are hop on board with the other McLaren that is driving around these, star-studded streets, essentially, with Scotty Designs, by the way, with Meraki just in front of him. And we have to talk about Scotty, don't we, here, Carl? He's had a fantastic race so far. Of course, started in 7th. He still stands 7th, which, even for Scotty, yes, he's in a McLaren. Let's not take that away from him. But he's had a fantastic drive today.
He absolutely has. Sacre Blue, Mr. Scotty Designs. That is absolutely brilliant work from yourself. And piling on pressure on the championship leader, Mr. Meraki. Difficult to do at the best of times. He's obviously got, like you say, he's got the McLaren at his disposal, but he's using it to great effect. 2/10 faster as his fastest lap, almost, than Mr. Meraki. Scotty's having a lovely time here on the streets of Monte Carlo as they head through the Nouvelle Chicane. It's nice weather for a yacht. I'll tell you what, they've got the conditions absolutely correct. Another time penalty, this time for Concept 7, who's up to 9 seconds worth of penalties. And if you combine every single penalty on the grid, ladies and gentlemen, because that's a game I've decided to play with my mental maths, you end up with, and I can confirm, 47 seconds worth of total penalties, and that's more than the number of laps we've had.
It would actually be more if Alex was still racing, because he had 9 seconds when he bowed out only, let's do the maths on this, about 19 laps into this Grand Prix. So if they'd have carried on, it would have been an interesting one to see what that would have added up to. There was something I was going to mention earlier, and I can't quite remember what it was. I've forgotten what I was going to mention. But alas, we will continue through. Team at Monaco holds the fastest lap of the session. He still continues to chase down in Fratek. That was it. I saw someone mentioning the rain in the chat. I can confirm the heavy rain is starting to blow away from the circuit. Light rain incoming in the next couple of moments, and then we will get confirmation in the next few laps or so if the rain is going to stop. It's going to be an interesting one because, of course, when we first started this race, Carl, there was a split strategy in terms of whether we're going to see rain to the end or dries being potential right at the end. I still don't know. You still don't know. We'll find out in about 4 minutes, but it could go either way.
Well, if rain does indeed stay to the end, it puts a bit of a headache on the whole of the top 10. They've only done 1 pit stop so far this race, and if the rain does indeed continue to the end of this Grand Prix, which we are as much in the dark as you, ladies and gentlemen, then you never know. Team Marduk might have just pulled off the biggest blinder in the history of Monaco at the Creator Series, and would, therefore, by elimination, take his first win. However, despite that, and I was just looking at it visually, he's not exactly loving life on the new Inters, and Tom Wilkinson confirms it. Not happy with his new tyres. He says they have no grip whatsoever.
That's an interesting one, especially on new intermediates. And again, this kind of goes back to pit stops as Karim 17 gets a sloppy, let's put it that way, 3-second penalty for jumping the inside the corner at Sat Devault. We were talking about pit stops, obviously the 2 pit stop rule is not discounted when we have wet weather conditions. I can confirm we've only had 6 drivers make 2 pit stops or more in this race. We still have 11 drivers requiring to go in for that mandatory second stop. So it is a real split grid at the moment. Of course, Adam Sanderson, I believe, has done, 4 or 5 pit stops at this moment in time? He definitely leads the number, but 11 of them still need to make that second stop.
Well, what an order we would have if indeed the rain does stay to the end and intermediates are the way to go as a massive burnout and power slide. But actually overtaking round the outside at the right-hander goes Mr. Infratic. Concept 7 demoted down to P10, and Tiamat Marduk's the next one to put the prancing horse on the chopping block as they head into the Nouvelle Chicane. No chance to make a move there, though, at the moment. A little bit wide drifts the Ferrari. The curb bounce is not kind, though, to the car from Faenza, and Fabio is allowed to escape into the distance. The order, by the way, if it did indeed rain all the way to the end, Ben would lead. It would be Matt 212, who's just overtaken Jorrit van Keffen for P12. He would be in P2. Then it would be Tukey in third. Hayden Gullis would be fourth. Adam Sanderson, who's made about 16 pit stops this race, would be in fifth. What a top 5 that would be, if indeed the precipitation stays.
Absolutely, and we are still awaiting. Light rain is literally imminently coming towards our creators. The heavy rain has gone. The dry line will slowly start to reform in a slightly better capacity than we saw for the majority of this race. You can see some, I don't know if that's blue sky or just considerably lighter cloud in the distance as Team Monaco looks to try and make the better of Concept 7 as they crested over the top of Massonnet in towards the right-hander of Casino. But the Ferrari still holds on with a little bit superior straight line speed compared to the Racing Bull. And of course, we've got one Racing Bull in 11th place, the other up in first. So a 10-place difference between the two of them. And now if someone wants to do some mental math here for us in the chat, lap times around the 1 minute 25s. And how many laps have we got to go? We've got about 25 or 20, 30 laps to go. We are going to see the end of the rain in about 10 laps time, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, apologies for putting it all in your brains. There goes that particular top 5. Still, Tiamat Marder gets closer to making the manoeuvres, but Concept 7 just doing the job he needs to do, getting the exit, prioritising, pointing the Ferrari like a bullet out of the corner, and as a result maintains position, not without a bit of a biff with Barrier out of to back corner, and then tries to escape through the swimming pool chicane, and does so as Tiamat Marder clips the inside wall. So they are all beginning to push the limits here, perhaps a bit of frustration creeping in as well, where moves and manoeuvres were so easy to make early on here in Monaco. Now they just have to weather the storm a little bit more, and that, when you're a driver in the cockpit, when you just want to move fearlessly forwards at every single opportunity, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
It absolutely is. We expect rain to stop then at the end of lap 57, roughly around there, maybe a lap or two earlier, depending on how quick it does start to dry up. But of course, the track conditions looking around 22 degrees on the track, 19 degrees in the air, still only 17 cars racing after Matty D13, F1 Alex and Safso coming to an unfortunate race ender slightly earlier than they would have hoped for. Penalties up on your screens at the moment. Not too many more to add, hopefully, for most of our drivers. But who knows what will happen when dry conditions come beckoning once again and drivers maybe start taking one too many risks. I'll tell you what, though, I reckon it's about time we hand over to Josh Richards, who might have a little bit of insight for us on the ground and what has happened behind the scenes. Josh, are you there?
Yeah, so first and foremost, going to have a quick look here. A bit of contact came, I think, between Adam Sanson and Tiamat Mardik, heading in towards turn 1, Ben gaining in towards the braking zone. Both of them actually go a little bit deep, and unfortunately Adam ending up in the barriers, picked up a small bit of wing damage, which definitely didn't help him on those wet tyres. Yeah, unfortunate stuff there. I don't think there was actually very much contact at all. And then the DNF we saw a little bit earlier on, resulting in the virtual safety car. Matty D coming out of the tunnel in towards the chicane, and in traditional Matty D style, a bit of a bottle, lost the rear, and drove straight into the barrier. Not exactly what he was hoping for, and you can see the shock on his face, which seems to be quite a trend when Matty D's racing.
I'm honestly not surprised he managed to find the wall there, because he seems to be flashbanged every time he comes out of that tunnel. I don't know if you saw it as bright as I did on the screen, but his screen was practically pure white as he made his way out of the tunnel. I know most drivers do try and adjust their graphical settings, especially in the rain, to counteract that flashbang effect that you get as you come out of the dark space in towards the bright sunshine, especially when we get, you know, the really sunny conditions as well. But Matty, of course, finding the trickier side of Monaco here in the rain.
Matty D's Twitch streams, inadvertently sponsored by Vanish, ladies and gentlemen. Infratic through the Novell chicane. He's got Scott Taylor to try and get done. That was immensely close to a DNF. Absolutely raucous as Concept 7 cuts the Novell chicane. And the opportunity that the Australian sensation has looked for has arrived. He's turned the Ferrari worlds upside down, and he's through now into the top 10. And as the rain continues to wane off, we'll see a bit of an interesting dynamic, quite possibly, because of course the tread has been removed on the intermediate tyres. Concept 7 with another 3-second time penalty. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're up to 53 seconds worth of penalties. Because there's 2 races going on, really, here in Creator Series in Monaco. You've got the race between our creators. We're highlighting the second V-carb on the road. His teammate has led since lights out during this Grand Prix. We also have the penalties race. We're seeing if we get 78 seconds worth of penalties in 78 laps. Here we go. Announce it on Sky Sports.
This is the race you will realistically come for. Keep an eye on how many penalties each one of our drivers gets in the totality that they add up to. We still have Fabio here trying to get the better of Scott Taylor as he goes very deep in towards the hairpin at turn 6. I wonder if the Haas is starting to make many mistakes as the track is drying up. You can see the rain is no longer as severe as it was many moments ago, because that rain is definitely stopping in about 10 or so laps. I wouldn't be surprised if it stops very imminently and actually does start to dry up in the next 5 or so minutes. But the wet line will remain, at least for the time being, until we see that improved running. The cars maybe onto the slicks will pull up a little bit of water. Of course, the intermediates, as long as you can possibly take them, will give you beneficial after beneficial. Being told as well, potentially another issue for Timo Marduk here this afternoon. He's had some throttle drag where his pedal is stuck at about 4% throttle all the way through. And this is heartbreak for Timo Marduk after issue today, where he can't seem to catch a break.
Oh man, is being put through the ringer here. He's gone AI, I presume, in an attempt to put dead zone on his controls. Tuki's out! Tuki's out of the Monaco Grand Prix, and we have a 4th safety car this race. And the Williams man bows out. I think he might have had penalties next to his name. So suddenly, the race for 78 seconds in 78 laps, it just got a little bit more tricky.
That it certainly did. Well, here we go then. Another safety car, another opportunity for Bert Mylander to make a bit of appearance. And actually, this will be a really strategic safety car. And I will tell you as for why. We've got 8 minutes until the rain stops. Let's take a wild punt and a guess here that the laps under safety car are going to take roughly around a minute 40, a minute 50, closer to 2 minutes. We'll probably do about 3 or 4 laps under safety car conditions. That is going to hit pretty much bang on the moment when the rain is going to stop. Are we going to see anybody going for slick tyres to see this restart out? Or is it going to be that little bit too early? It's going to be a real interesting battle of the minds and battle of the competencies to see who takes that risk. Because as it stands, everybody is on a set of intermediates. Even Adam Sanderson, who's now made 5 pit stops to go on, 2 sets of intermediates and 2 sets of wets?
But it's quite something. Inadvertently his own rainbow challenge, but a 4th trip under safety car here. And I think it's very possible that we'll see drivers pitting in for the dry tyres. Will Alex Gillen be one of those? I imagine that a lot of these drivers, anticipating that the rain will stop, will strap dry tyres onto the car all the way to the end of this race. And right on cue, medium compound tyres for Alex Gillen and Lolin Ober. Everybody going to make their way into pit row for what I have no doubt, unless there's absolute carnage that happens, what should be their last pit stop of the entire race.
This is where we've lied to everyone on the broadcast, and the rain's actually not going to stop until the end of the session, and everyone who's reported back to their creators has fed them wrong information. Matt 212, though, stays out, deciding not to pit for a fresh set of slick tyres amongst everybody else on the mediums, which is a rather interesting statistic amongst that. I wonder if he thinks the track is not going to be dry enough and have a little bit of a bonus grip when we do go racing. But of course, the field is so spread apart. You can see just how far behind Chesnoid is, just heading through to back now at turn 13. Whilst actually the safety car is already at turn 6 of the hairpin, so a considerable amount of field spread, with the back two of Adam Sanson and Chesnoid Gaming still expecting to go in towards the pits. Fabio and Scott Taylor, those 2 drivers that have opted for a brand new set of intermediates here, so splitting the field even more. But you've got the majority. Surely this has to be, I don't know, some form of mistake here, Carl. Are they, unless they're really not thinking the rain's going to dry up or the track's not going to dry up quick enough to warrant slick tyres yet?
It has to be a mistake, surely. I can't see how it could be anything else. But bad news for him as well is because, well, Karim managed to get his wing changed as well. He's finally alleviated himself of that wing damage. Matt 212 has stayed out on 19-lap-old intermediate tyres. It's a bold gamble, but it's a gamble that probably won't, and most definitely won't, pay off. So that is a shame. But Fabio's then got to pit again to go to slick tyres, unless the rain stays longer than anticipated. We look to Jake. What's his mindset like? Championship leader, hasn't quite had the pace today, hasn't been able to challenge the front few. And in a quest for the championship lead, yes, he will extend the advantage, but it might well have been so much more.
I wonder if he was doubting there the tyre choice at the moment, because the rain is still there. We've still got about 4 or 5 minutes until the rain ceases, and then we've still got to wait for the track to dry up. And this could be smart here, just dropping back from the car in front, not allowing themselves to bunch up too much as to not trigger the safety car to come in, because obviously that requires all of the cars to be essentially within 10 car laps or car distances of one another. We see Scott Taylor now into the pits, which makes sense, getting off the set of the the intermediate tyres that he did have on, and now going on to a set of the harder tyres. We've seen this sort of strategy for the drivers that want the harder tyres. We saw it in Silverstone back in 2024, if memory serves me correctly. They went on the harder tyre because they have a lower working temperature compared to the softs and the mediums, so they somewhat do better in these kind of changeable conditions.
And of course, the impetus to push on them more because they are that harder compound ultimately is what got Max Verstappen so close to Sir Lewis Hamilton at the end of the race. But ultimately, Mercedes man took his 9th British Grand Prix win that day. And what a moment in history that is for Formula 1. But Matt 212 actually quite wisely stayed out as, well, it's Chansey actually, shout outs to you, has actually said that they've been very smart because Scott had a 10-second time penalty and was ahead. So Matt would have got stuck behind him. So fair play, Matt 212 played the smart game on that particular occasion, but, well, I imagine will probably have to get into the pit lane and switch out of those intermediate tyres. He's now the only one, along with Fabio, who is yet to get off the wet weather compound. Still the rain on the lens, though, still raindrops on the halo streaking off here in Monte Carlo, and we're hearing our producer, and you know what, I echo the sentiments, get the safety car in, because that could get very spicy.
It absolutely could. And one thing that our producer actually also said in our chat about, he said, I thought softs are the optimal tyre for getting temp into. Yes, you're correct. It's easier to get temperature into the softer compounds of tyres, but the harder compounds of tyres work better at a lower, or have a lower working temperature overall. So the softs like about 100 degrees or so, or 70 to 100 degrees of working temperature. The harder tyres actually quite like running at, 40, 50, 60 degrees of temperature. So whilst they're harder to get temperature into, you're not going to get the required temperature in on a wet track like we see at the moment, although it is considerably drier as we head through this hairpin. But that's why you'd go for the harder tyre, because you don't need to get as much temperature into them when you have a circuit that is damp or kind of drying like this, and what we saw at Silverstone in 2024. Matt 212 on the other hand, and that is a very dry looking corner down at Portier. I think he could be in a bit of trouble here.
Quite possibly. And well, if the safety car gets brought in at the end of this lap, while we were echoing the sentiments and saying, absolutely, get it in. The rain is not streaking off the halo anymore. It has stopped. And so Matt 212 and Infratic's gamble is not going to pay off. And those on the dry tyres who just persevered and said, you know what, we'll bite the bullet. It's going to happen. Safety car in this lap. And there's going to be the most immense sinking feeling, ironically, for those on the wet weather compound.
It only takes 2 laps to make up a pit stop if the track is damp still. Well, I'm trying to have a look at it. The track temperature has already rised by 2 degrees compared to what it was when the safety car first came out. It was 22, now 24. Alex Gillen in charge of what is now numerous safety car restart of the afternoon. He's been slow, he's been fast on restarts. Which way is he going to swing his hammer? This time it's immediately as he exits out of Anthony Knowles, trying to catch up the drivers that are going incredibly slow behind him, and launches in towards the first corner. We watch a ball with Matt 212, who's going to struggle on these intermediates. I say that as actually he seems to have better grip than Vince as they come through Sandoval, up the hill through Beau Rivage in towards Massenet, and Matt 212 for the time being has a grip advantage.
Well, there you go. Not all set in stone in terms of when the rain stops. He now immediately superglues himself to the back of Lolinova, who can't get the power down quickly enough. So it's down the inside at Mirabeau for the Red Bull driver. Our F2 sprint race winner. He's up into P2. And there's a great chance of taking P1 as they head into the Lowe's hairpin. Infratic's already up to P7 as well. So the Inter's still working absolutely brilliantly. Better yet for Matt 212, because he's managed to shred the tread off the tyres. He basically has slick to medias, and so through he goes. 212 for the second time this Creator Series week leads the Monaco Grand Prix.
I don't want to worry you here, Carl, but our telemetry originally said it was going to stop raining in 2 minutes, and normally after that it'll go no rain expected. It's currently saying rain all the time, so either that's an issue on our end, or we're going to see rain again at some point.
Don't believe this, honestly. Imagine the masterstroke that Matt 212 has done. He's made his 2 pit stops as well. So this is absolutely on merit. We're keeping an eye on Fabio as well, of course, who's piling all kinds of pressure as DRS is enabled at the end of this lap. So clearly, they're thinking it is dry enough to properly get racing on the way. But as Alex Gillen slides out of the first corner, perhaps it's just not quite there yet.
Well, Matt 212's out of DRS range. He's under pressure from Lonnie Nova almost immediately as we make our way on towards lap 56, and he's got gapped by Matt 212. The intermediates really started to fire up, but I think they could be reveling in now as Gillen's starting to find tenths, find hundredths, but it is by the close of margins. Tyres are pretty equal, and there we go. Telemetry now telling us no rain expected, so surely the slick tyres are the optimal choice to endure after those first couple of laps of maybe sketchiness.
Absolutely. Well, it's gonna annoyingly take what could be a potential Grand Slam in the Creator Series away from Alex Gillen, as Matt 212 will surely cross the line as the race leader for the second time this race. But even so, like you say, dry tyres are going to make their way through. Karim's out. Karim retires at the no chicane. He's hit the inside wall, and Yorit just darts underneath the Haas car. Unbelievable stuff. And again, we have a VSC for the second time, a virtual safety car. Yorit gets a 10-second penalty. I'm not entirely sure what he could have done differently, but after surviving 56 laps, it's heartbreak for the Haas driver.
Matt 212 giving a little bit of relief and leeway as he's given the opportunity to come in to get off the intermediate tyres, as does in Fratic, and that will be a brand new set of mediums for Matt 212. What does Fabio choose to go on to? I think it'll be a very similar choice of mediums. It is indeed, as he drops down the order, as there's a complete reshuffling here, as nobody quite knows what order they want to proceed in. But Alex Gillen now re-leads, and Ben, my gracing host, who's left this time? Karim 7T, who is giving it after Ben left out the first time. Watch your thumbs, please, Vince.
Well, there we go. Unbelievable. DRS enabled. We're back racing. And ladies and gentlemen, no one has got a drive-through. Well done, everybody. Most people pitting, by the way. I'm surprised Tiamat Marduk pit again under that VSC. By the way, he's on a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Clearly thinking you'll find more proper pace and purchase. Infratic's out as well. Outside of the casino square. There he is. Buried in the outside wall. And that's the end of that. We've reached the safety car limit. There's not going to be another stoppage in this race, as I'm sure you'll all be pleased to hear. But another driver falls foul. That's 6 now that have fallen foul to the barriers at Monaco.
Are the red flags enabled? I think we need to get clarification on whether they were on. They were on for the sprint, but not on for the full race, we've just been told. But Fabio, interesting fact, binned it at pretty much the same place that he binned it in that clip I mentioned earlier, where Dale hits the sound barrier with his screams and laughs. We now watch on board with Vince, and they will probably be assured after watching the stream that there will be no more safety cars. They've got nothing to worry about, and I wouldn't be surprised if this means a few more drivers get their elbows out.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm under the full expectation now that the gloves will come off. Only 20 laps to go in this race. And if that guy Vince thinks he's got pace, and clearly he does have a lot of pace in him, if he doesn't want to be stuck behind Lolin Ober, not for 2 seconds, so he will be sending it. As Adam Sanderson sets the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 12.989. And, well, according to our information, Ben rear-ended Karim as he DNF'd and broke his wing. So that's why he had to peel into the pit lane in the first place. So yet another piece of conundrum to pose in the way of the Visa Cash App driver.
Well, we've got 20 laps of racing to go when we cross the timing beam for lap 59. And we're watching here with Vince, who is right on the rear of Lonnie Nova, tries to maybe do a little bit of an impressionism in towards the Novel chicane. Not quite close enough to send a move down the inside. Smart racing from the Williams, just biding his time, but all the more time these two spend battling and scrapping. Gillen is continuing to run away. 2.3 seconds to the advantage of Lonnie Nova. Vince is practically pushing the Italian through the corners, tries to switch back at Raskas. He'll try and follow through as they go through Anthony Knowles, the Williams and the Aston Martin. Side by side, Riccio 3 tries to make it 3 wide. As we run up towards Sanderbot, they are 3 wide now. Surely this maths doesn't go. Switch back tried by Lonnie Nova. Still side by side now as they run up the hill, and Vince has to give that back position. Lonnie Nova was he was second, he was third, he was fourth, and back to second again.
Flabbergasted. What a battle. What an absolutely insane battle. That guy Vince now throwing even more caution to the wind. He's tried to go round the outside at Mirabeau corner. Again, Lolin Ober thwarts the efforts of the team based from Grove. Yorit's got the fastest lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. He's back. He's returned. It's a 1 minute 12.152. And, well, it might not be the win today, but if he keeps the purple lap time, it's a crumb of comfort he could take with him from this week.
We'll add it to the list of accolades that he's going to take home from his numerous appearances in the Monaco Grand Prix here in the F1 Creator Series. And what a history he has had over the course of many races. Twice winner, as we previously alluded to. And of course, we can't go mentioning Joris wins without mentioning Alex Gillen, who I believe has come second to both of his race wins here in the Principality. And today looks like it's going to be his day. And Hayden Gullis quite infamously cursed Alex Gillen last time out, I believe in Season 7, where he said he was an extremely clean driver, waits for the move, and then he proceeded to send it down the inside of Mirabeau Hort down at Turn 5, and caused a massive pile-up from what I remember.
Well, yes, he did. And we wouldn't have it any other way, as Hayden Gullis, speaking of which, is trying to make a move on Scotty Designs, by the way, down the inside at the Casino Square complex, will turn to the outside line. Does momentum favour the Mercedes man, or will the Papaya Pro have something to say about it? Hayden's in the wall, gets his braking completely wrong, and I think that answers the question quite well.
I think we have just cursed Hayden somehow. We were cursing someone else, saying that Hayden cursed them. And somehow Hayden Gullis has found the barrier at the exact same corner in which Alex Gillen made a bit of a whoopsie 3 or 4 seasons ago now. But unfortunately, no more safety cars means that Hayden Gullis is going to be in somewhat no man's land to see this race out. But look at the gap between second and first now, Carl. Over 4 seconds. I think Gillen has found the incredible pace. Maybe that hypercooled chair that he's installed this afternoon is really making sure that he isn't sweating as much as usual.
Cool in the chair, cool under pressure. Alex Gillen, defined as the Iceman here in Monaco. That guy Vince, though, getting a little bit hot under the collar, still stuck behind Lolinova, who is ailing, by the way, has got front wing damage because Gillen was apparently brake checked by the Delta, which is sort of a common appearance. We do apologise, but Lolly ran into the back of him, hence why he's managed to just scamper away to a 4.5 second gap. And there's a bit of a cork in the bottle now. That guy, Vince and Ricky, have lots of pace to use, but they can't make it happen because of the way that Monaco is configured. Trying to send it is a bit of a dark art, as that guy, Vince, looks to take the narrow line into the Lowe's hairpin, try and set himself up as Concept 7 pretty much gets out of the way of Matt 212, who managed to pit under that VSC. And, well, it's Matt 212 versus a McLaren again.
I think maybe he knew that wasn't his fight. He's going to be patient. Someone who isn't. Vince tries it down the inside of the Nouvelle Chicane, a place where we've seen many a driver DNFing, and that is rather unfortunate. Fortunate that he didn't crash out, let's put it that way. But unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the move made on Lolinova, who has now become that effective cork in the bottle. It was Meraki slightly earlier on. I think Scotty Designs being their own slight cork in the bottle down in 6th place. With Matt 212, Concept 7, Scott Taylor just in behind him, and that fastest lap accolades that was held by Jorrit van Heffen is now taken away by our race leader Alex Gillen, who's done a mightily impressive 1:11.667 and held the fastest first and second sectors in doing so.
He wants it. He wants all the accolades. Vince just pushing Lolinova through Casino Square. Burnt the battery to try and make an impression again, though. Can't find his way through. It's not happening for the Williams driver, who's in an Aston Martin sandwich in P3. They've also got to be careful because Mr. Meraki, championship leader, if he ever needed an invitation to attack for the podium places, this is it.
It absolutely is, and this, as he said, is only going to be an invitation that he's not going to decline over the course of the laps. I think many drivers have pretty much settled out of the idea of winning this infamous Monaco Grand Prix, as Vince now tries the outside through the Nouvelle Chicane. I don't think he was left much room, if any, by Lolinova, who is struggling with a bit of front wing damage. The front right end plate, I believe, missing on that Aston Martin, but Vince now getting visibly frustrated by the Italian that stands in front of him. I don't quite know if he's going to be able to try and make that move forward. When is he going to have the ability to try and send the nose down the inside? Maybe Santafort is the next opportunity for Datko Vince, who of course won his first Creator Series race out in reverse Zandvoort just a couple of weeks ago. He'll be looking to try and secure another podium to try and keep his points going.
It'd be good to get a podium, but it's all just getting a little bit tense now. Expect fireworks, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, Vince not afraid to throw in a send on Mr. Lolinova. In fact, he'll keep throwing sends till he collapses, ladies and gentlemen, on lap number 63. Has to pull a bit of a Houdini act, though, a bit of a way to try and escape what is basically the stronghold that Lolinova has on him. If he has any chance of getting to Alex Gillen, but a 7.5 second gap, it's looking very, very unlikely. As Gillen says, it feels very empty without me. He's made his return here at Monaco after missing Singapore, and he's absolutely acing it here at Monte Carlo.
He certainly is. You wouldn't know that he was trying to defend the championship and hadn't had the best start to the season. Of course, missed a race. He's had a fantastic couple of weeks in the off-season. He missed a race last time in last season to go and get married, if you can recall that far back, and then still managed to take home the championship. Alex Gillen proving why he is sometimes one of the best drivers in this series, and especially around such a tight and technical circuit like this in Monaco. We've got just over 14 laps of racing to go in this Grand Prix. And I tell you what, I don't think, unless we see a mistake from our reigning champion, the tide is going to turn.
Indeed. Meanwhile, no mistakes made for Matt 212 would be a good look. He looks to the inside to try and throw Scotty Designs off piste. Not doing though. Scotty still very much on the go as they head through to Casino Square. Another potential send on the horizon, but you basically got to be right alongside the rear axle in order to try anything out there. There's a big snap out of Casino Square, well caught by the Red Bull driver. But Scotty, as well as our producer says, he's the Ministry of Defence. The entire thing is the entire organisation, as Fabio says, fun race. Well, I guess that's tasteful.
I think that we'll take that with, let's just say, some artistic interpretation. As that guy Vince still unable to dispatch Lolly Nova, who is the barest of Martin's front home. Is he going to look for a movement to back? He looks to the inside. It's covered by the timing tower, and Dakovic still cannot find a way past Lolly Nova, who still stands in front of him. It is the absolute closest to margins, but I wonder if the straight line speed on that Aston Martin is just saving them by the barest. We've got the Scottish Minister of Defence, who's in 6th. And we've also got the Italian Ministry of Defence that is in 2nd. Both of them the pure agencies, not just the individual members. Somehow we've got some very famous people racing here in Monaco, Carl.
They pulled out the entire artillery. Scotty and Matt 212 still go into combat, and Scotty still remains ahead. So his Ministry of Defence very much continues. And Matt 212, well, 212 is reminiscent of the amount of overtaking attempts he's tried to make on Scotty Designs, none of which so far have worked. Again, aggressively darts the nose to the inside, but still can't throw Scotty Designs off. He is coping with the pressure beautifully, as, it has to be said, is Lolin Ober. I can't imagine how annoying and frustrating it must be for that guy Vince, knowing how much pace he has. Again, he closes in, a chance to go to the outside of the Novo chicane, cuts the apex though, and backs off, and Lolin Ober has another chance to re-inherit the position. I imagine that was fairness from that guy Vince, as he did just overshoot the braking zone, and so battle very much continues.
See, you say he overshot the braking zone, but I actually didn't think he was left much room on the inside there by Lolly Nova, who wanted to try and take the Nova chicane as pretty much straight as he wanted to. It's a really interesting battle that we've got going on for 2nd and 3rd, because Vince, I think, has the speed, but he's got to find a place to make the pass, and this could be part of the reason why we saw so few overtakes in IRL F1, because of course in the game and in the sim, where if you crash out you get to press play and go again later down the road. Obviously if they crash out in real life, it's a very expensive repair bill for all the teams, so they're a little more cautious when it comes to overtaking. We can see, I believe, down the bottom, Matt 212 on the back of that Scottish Minister of Defence. Scotty Designs, by the way, who is, again, holding on. And it's very easy for cars to defend here, but you have to know what you're doing. You can see, and watch what Scotty does here. He doesn't go all the way to the right or the left of the circuit. He holds bang on the middle, because it just doesn't leave enough room for Matt 212 to send the move left or right.
No, and you don't have the same luxury that you do at other tracks of potentially having a curb that you can annihilate, having a tighter line that you can take, because it is dictated by those barriers. And we've seen 6 drivers already have their name claimed to the Monaco barriers, and so it might continue. So they have to approach it with an air of caution, as bouncing over the curbs very aggressively was that guy Vince. There he probably was a little overcommitted, as we have another time penalty. Adam Sanderson adding to his tally. It's now 9 seconds the Ferrari driver has to his name.
Well, 12 laps to go here in Monaco, and the laps are starting to count down, and I think all of our drivers have started to see that end goal in sight. Lap 78 will be the final time of Austin Gillen, now 10 seconds clear of anybody else on this circuit. You can see he's not far off the rear, actually, of Hayden Gullis, who's only a couple of corners up the road. He's just making his way through the Novel chicane and through to back. And that is only, well, if I can do the maths here, 4 corners ahead of our race leader, Alex Gillen. The biggest battle at the moment certainly has to be Matt 212 here on the rear of Scotty Designs. And this is where Scotty's excelling. He's just parking it in the middle of the circuit. Yes, he's inviting Concept 7 and Scott Taylor to come get involved, make that 2-way battle a 4-way. But at the moment, he's not going to be concerned about that. Yes, he knows he's got a penalty, but actually this could benefit him in the long run because he's not going to drop as many positions as maybe some of the other drivers around him. He knows Concept's got 15 seconds. He knows Scott Taylor's also got 3 seconds, so he will happily invite these other drivers in towards the fight that we've got going on.
For sure. And to complete the Pentagon of priceless battle, Tiamat Marduk might have had his wing damage, but got onto the fresh set of hard compound tyres, and it's coming back good for the Australian driver, not far off the back of this train. So Matt 212 better get a move on, because if there's anybody this race that has been able to carve their way through traffic, it is Tiamat Marduk.
I think what we're seeing here is Matt 212 has DRS, let's not beat around the bush, but he's not using as much battery, probably equal battery or as much as he can use in that small straight between turns 19 and turns 1. Whereas Scotty Design as well, he's got a little bit of straight line speed, maybe he's running slightly lower wings, but he's also burning the same amount of battery as Matt 212 is, because there's not many other places on this circuit that you need to use it. You can see here, Scotty just hogging the middle of the road, not allowing a cars with either side, and this is spectacular defending. It reminds me of Alonso back in, what was it, Hungary of 2021, if memory serves me correctly?
Your memory is absolutely served correct, and I agree. I can't highlight enough how impressive this is from Scotty Designs. Yes, he has a time penalty next to his name, but that's why they're drivers. They're constantly, they don't rest on their laurels, they wear their heart on their sleeve, big contact almost. Between Chesnoid and Hayden Gullis, they remain side by side. More contact with the front left wheel of the Mercedes for the McLaren man, but battle is sorted. Hayden Gullis moves up to P13 in this race. So, back to the battles at hand. Matt 212. 3 tenths behind Scotty Designs. That's the closest battle still. He needs to set up this corner pretty well. But like you say, TK, he just isn't deploying as much battery as perhaps you would anticipate. He gets close, but it's not enough. Scotty does the job he needs to do, and perhaps not quite executing the first corner enough, because that line was compromised. So there's an ebb and flow to this battle. And if you're the attacking car, you just have to figure it out very quickly.
Watch as you head into the first corner, you actually have this really wide section of the track, and then just before you get to what would be a key overtaking spot in Saint-Devote, the left-hand side of the track just closes in on you, and it goes from what could be the closest of 2 cars width into essentially 1.5, and you're never going to get a car wide. So if you're not too wide by there, you're not getting it in, because the car in front can just dominate the racetrack and hold on to a key position. We watched a ball with Alex Gillen for a little moment as he made his way through the ball section. Turns 13, 14, 15 and 16. We're back on board now with Tiamat Marduk, who's on the rear of this 2-car battle between Scott Taylor and Concept 7 F1, who holds the record at the moment for the most penalties in totality. Yellow flag, and who's that that's gone round? It's going to be Matt 212 who's made a mistake and drops through the order, and the Red Bull facing the wrong way, and that is something that we did not expect to see. A Bottle job once again. He won the sprint. I think Bottle 212 might have returned.
Well, still sort of has a full front wing. He got a sprint win before a top 10. Still, he remains there for now. And, well, for his sake, hopefully he does stay there. But Adam Sanderson trying to get in that slipstream. Obviously not with that exit, though. That guy, Vince, remains frustrated, though. He can't find a way past Lolin Ober. Those are my 2 drivers of the day. Lolin Ober defending absolutely beautifully, as is Mr. Scotty Designs, who has now got that pressure relieved from Matt 212.
Absolutely. Well, we're into lap 70, folks, and at the moment, still 14 cars remain on this circuit, and Alex Gillen still leads by 13 seconds. And I wonder if this is going to be enough that he could probably cut the Novel chicane on the final lap and still win this Grand Prix. I'd love to see him try it just for a little bit of fun on the final lap. He'll get to lap 78, just absolutely straight line the Novel chicane. He'll get a 10-second penalty, and he'll still beat Lolly Nova. If anyone's in Alex's chat, maybe you suggest that to him. For a little bit of fun on the circuit. But we watched Chesnoid Gaming, who had Jorik van Geffen just come out of the pits just in front of him, maybe on a fresh set of tyres. I wonder if he's going to go for a fastest lap attempt right at the end here to see if he's able to try and reclaim it from our race leader at present. Deco Vince, though, still on the back of Lolly Nova, as we see Scott Taylor having to let Tiamat Marduk pass. I think that was by hook or by crook. The Australian now into 8th place on the rear of Concept 7. And I wonder if this will be a bit of an easy pass as well, trying to chase that down in towards the first corner. Tiamat Marduk saving battery, just allowing it to recharge as they head up Beau Rivage for the 71st time.
Really has flown by this race, and Tiamat Marduk loves a Raskas dive, and that overtake was no different as that guy Vince again, just staking his claim and showing his intent, just biffing the back. Annihilating the diffuser of the Aston Martin. Another chance here, but again, the rear tyres can't comply. Lolin Ober's got plenty of life in the rear tyres and tremendous traction, and again he'll defend brilliantly into the Nouvelle chicane, although locking up the right hand side tyre probably isn't the play to counteract that particular piece of positivity. Still it remains line astern, 2, 3 and 4. Alex Gillen, ladies and gentlemen, cue it now. Pretty much it will be, as they head through the second part of the swimming pool, a 14-second lead for the V-Carb driver.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the best leads that we've seen actually in the Creator Series in a very, very long time. Obviously, under what is normal equal conditions, it's not something that we came to particularly unexpected, especially this late in the Grand Prix where the intentional safety cars were causing these leads to be somewhat nullified, especially if we look back at the start of kind of season 10. It's going to be an interesting one. But of course, we would never have expected a V-Carb, which is destined to be the second worst car over the course of Britain. That's how it's laid out in our standings and how the cars are assigned, to be so far ahead of a car in front of them. 14.5 seconds. It continues to climb with every single passing corner, and I think it's been nothing short than a phenomenal display of driving here by Alex Gillen. We've got to give him full credit for that.
Of course we do, absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I think the overarching characteristic of the realistic V-Carb is understeer more than anything else. Again, Vince tries a manoeuvre or tries to show the noses. Again, Tiamat Marduk leaves the session. He's down to P9, and it's more heartbreak for the Australian driver who just can't shake off the technical gremlins. Was up in P7 and gunning for P6, which by all means would have been a very decent recovery. But what I was saying, Alex Gillen in that V-Carb car, if it really does have that feeling of understeer, yes, you can take that out with a bit of setup change. But ultimately, the car is more predictable. You're able to just judge it brilliantly as it flows into the corner. You've just got to account for the fact that you do have that understeer on you at all times. As long as you can deal with that, there's no reason why you can't extract the pace out of the car.
I think it's certainly heartbreak there for Tim and Marduk, who, as you said, was on for a good result as his AI pits once again. And I think he's not far off joining Adam Sanderson for the most pit stop awards. I think he is actually equal. As he brand new set of hards with 5 laps to go here. That's certainly an interesting one. We've got 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We'll come to Josh Richards for clips after the race concludes here, and because I think this is still going to be a great battle for second on the circuit here.
Couldn't agree more with you. As long as Lolinoba doesn't pick up a time penalty, that's the last thing he can afford. As long as he doesn't do that, though, then life is good in the Aston Martin camp. Not that it matters in the constructors, but a great result for both Italian drivers. 2nd and 4th it would be. Scott Taylor, the next person to try and overthrow Concept 7 into the Nouvelle chicane. Defended well, though, by the Ferrari driver. Albeit, based on the penalties, he will be finishing at the Austrian Grand Prix. Regardless, though, holding down P7 on the track, a good effort.
Let's talk about warnings. Let's talk about penalties. That seems to be a favourite conversation of the chat at the moment. I can confirm the top 3 all remain warning-free. Riccio 3 has 1 warning to their name. Meraki has equally got none. None of them are penalties as well. So Ricky is the only one maybe with a slight chance of getting a penalty unless we see an absolutely massive mistake. Timo Mark rejoins. We can see how far he's fallen. He's 2 seconds off the back of Hayden Gullis, who in turn is about 14 seconds off the back of Sanderson. He's lost about 20 seconds. All in all, as that guy Vince maybe goes for a very brave move down the inside of Lolinoba, and that allows Riccio 3 to sneak past as he tried to get himself off the raised interior of that corner. Both Aston Martin stand 2 and 3 here, and actually, really interesting to note, Taco Vince got a warning for that.
Fairy tale at the Principality awaits, possibly. Riccio 3, it's been a while. In fact, he may never have seen the rostrum in F1 Creator Series history. That could all change. Here on the streets of Monte Carlo, he's got just over, I think, 5 tours, no, make that 4 tours of the Monaco track in order to hold position against that guy Vince. And if his frustration wasn't boiling over before, it really has reached tipping point as Scotty Designs gets another penalty. By the way, that's 48 seconds worth of penalties. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to 78 seconds.
Well, this would be Riccio 3's first ever podium in the F1 Creator Series, and they've got to try and play defensive now, with that guy Vince chasing them down over 4 laps of the Monegasque Grand Prix. Just over 13 kilometres for them to drive and defend for. And of course, Alex Gillen well and truly up in the lead of this race. Win number 76 for him in the Creator Series from 7... sorry, no, it wouldn't be win 76. I've misread that terribly. Win number 28 from 76 race starts. And of course, 45 podiums. He will make it here this afternoon. We ride on board with Scott Taylor making his way through just with Concept 7 in front, who both metaphorically and physically is acting as a bit of a blocker with the penalties and that driving on track. Scott well and truly locked in here in the Rebel, trying to chase him down, but it would be a good result for Scott Taylor, of course, running inside the top 10, which is, you know, in the Create Series is always a good result.
I've never seen Scott Taylor look so serious. If he stares any deeper into his diffuser, he might actually blow up Concept 7's F1 car, which is a bit of a worry. So let's move aside from that one. We have both Red Bulls now applying pressure. Matt 2-on-2 again looking to try and overtake somebody. It is his teammate, but he has just got a 3-second time penalty. It's 51 seconds worth of penalties now, so we might get to 78 seconds yet in the race for 78 seconds worth of penalties. We only have less than 3 tours to go here in Monaco, and if you want a visualization of what the gap is looking like in this race, Alex Gillen, I believe, is about to make his way through the tunnel. We look to second place and whatnot. They're just making their way through Mirabeau. An absolutely astronomical margin.
I'm just saying, if Alex Gillen absolutely straight lines Novel Chicane on the final lap, we'll probably get close to that 78 laps, or the 78 seconds worth of penalties. He's going to be able to get that 10-second penalty and still finish ahead of Lottie Nova. Yellow flag somewhere on the circuit. Looks like one of the Red Bulls down at the hairpin. I think that was going to be potentially Matt 2-on-2, who had a bit of an instant there. Doesn't look like he's lost too much damage. And Tim Marduk, who had bolted on a fresh set of soft tyres, set the fastest lap, and he has stolen that away from Alex Gillen. That is, wow, almost fantastic gamemanship to identify that Gillen had the fastest lap and that he could steal it away here.
My heart breaks for Tiamat Marduk, in truth, because of all the technical gremlins. He's managed to claw his way back through the field on so many occasions, and then he's again brought down by technical issues. He's probably going, what more do I have to do in order to stay in this race and actually prove my worth? A fastest lap will absolutely put that to the account. Only 0.2 faster than what Alex Gillen managed, albeit he's probably just content with setting the fastest lap and not exactly pushing the limits. It's Ricky 03 now. No, there aren't teammates in Creator Series. Yes, the Astons will fight, and Ricky will push Lolly all the way to the bitter end. It was that guy Vince before. It's now the battle of the Italians.
Ricky 03's got to be really careful here. Of course, he's on track for his first podium in the Create Series, but he's got Lottie Nova in front. He is not free and clear from that guy Vince behind. So whilst he wants to attack as much as he possibly can, he's still got to keep an eye on the likes of Vince behind him. Fratic leaves the session. So unfortunate to see what was the Haas go, and these are all the notifications coming through. So do not worry, DRS has not been disabled. As Ricky 03 getting very loose across the curve there, and that's not what you like to see. He does try and hold on, though, as we enter on towards the final lap. Alex Gillen will certainly continue round and lead this by 17.5 seconds of laps. It's absolutely stellar the way he's driven this afternoon. You can see him not far off the back of Chesnoid Gaming, just heading down in towards Mirabeau Haute at turn number 5 towards the hairpin. And I do hope that he's going to straight line the Novel Chicane, my apologies. I'm hoping someone's actually managed to get through to his track, because he will still have 7 seconds on Lolly Nova.
Absolutely. Come on, do it for the content, Alex Gillen. But what a drive it's been. Downright domination ever since that final safety car, after that final VSC, truth be told. He hasn't put a foot wrong all race. And if that is the statement the Season X champion are, boo, Alex Gillen, that is poor from you, my friend. But if there was ever a statement our Season X champion would want to put on the rest of the grid, it's this, because this is ominous.
It absolutely is. It's been a stellar drive from start to finish, over 78 laps of the Monaco Grand Prix. They say the bridesmaid is always the one that never finishes first. Well, this afternoon, the driver that's always the prince in the principality becomes king here in Monaco as Alex Gillen wins the Monegasque Grand Prix. A stellar drive from himself, and it will be both Aston Martins that come to follow him up. Lolly Nova with an absolutely stellar drive. Ricky 03, if he can hold out for one final straight, I think he's going to do it. He runs to the line to claim his first ever podium in the F1 Creator Series. He will be over the moon about that.
Fantastic race, up and down the field. Monaco does not disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. Not here, it doesn't. Scott Taylor, he's crossed the line, and rejoice. Matt 2-on-2 does get a top 10 before GTA 6. Adam Sanderson into P9 he goes. Hayden Gullis might even get the top 10. Nay, make that P9 after all the chaos he's had to endure. We highlight TMF Marduk, who's pushing all the way to the very end. Yorit's gone for a spin, doing some donuts, I think, through Raskas. Regardless, he's got so much time to do that. The bench still won't overtake him, but he will gain a final position. It's P12 for the Australian driver. But it could have been so much more today, TK.
It certainly could, and heartbreak for the drivers down at the bottom end of the order. Yorit, who was looking oh so promising coming into this on stats alone, finishing down in unlucky 13th. Ben with the internet and the hardware issues, and Chesnoid Gaming, who just, I don't think, ever found a grip or a moment of relief here in Monaco, finishes down in 14th. We've had 6 drivers bow out early, there being Infratic, Karim, Tuki, Matty D, F1 Alex and Safso. It's a rather unfortunate list of names that didn't make it until the end of the Grand Prix. But your order here this afternoon, it's the Brit of Alex Gillen on top. We've got the 2 Italian stallions standing firm in second and third. There will be the British national anthem to see us out here. And what a way to do it, to keep on getting the win in every season.
Not only that as well, ladies and gentlemen, it's another different winner with realistic cars. How about that? Still, the trend continues, and if it continues constantly like that, then we are in for a ride. Alex Gillen with cleanest driver as well, so another point to put in the direction of our Season X champion, gunning for a potential 3rd championship. And what an accolade that would be. Alex Gillen wins this race, Lolinoba P2, with Ricky 03 rounding out an Italian top 3, apart from Alex Gillen, but he might want to change citizenship to make that true. That guy Vince, Meraki, Scotty, Scott Taylor, Matt212, Hayden Gullis and Adam Sanderson round out our top 10. Concept 7, Tiamat Marduk, Yorik van Keffen and Chesnoid Gaming round out our finishing order. And as TK said, Infratic, Karim, Tuki, Matty D, F1 Alex and Safso didn't make it to the end of the race. A marvellous Monaco fixture. And I think that leaves us to say thank you for being here for the ride. But it's back to Tom Wilkinson.
What a race. What a race. Carnage throughout. Only 14 seeing the flag. And so many storylines and so many clips that I imagine, Josh, you've been able to pick up in the last quarter of that Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, definitely quite a lot going on there. Had to narrow it down a little bit just in the interest of time. Otherwise, we could probably be here for about half an hour. First and foremost, they will have a quick look at Karim's DNF. This was on lap 56 of 78, so quite a while ago in the grand scheme of the race. This was still while we had some drivers out there on inters. The 2 Haas drivers fighting heading into the chicane, and unfortunately, Karim just clipped the barrier, and a lot of drivers behind getting caught up behind as well. Ben, I think we mentioned earlier on, picked up some wing damage, and that really didn't help his race, along with many other things. We had the spin from Matt212 as well. This was what dropped him out of contention in the great defense from Scotty Designs as he made his way through to pack. Just a little dab on the brace, giving some extra rotation to the car, and that sent him spinning around. Unfortunate stuff there for him as well. Could have been on for some very, very good points there. We had as well the dive bomb from Vince. Heading in towards the hairpin. He thought maybe there was a chance to pick up P2 here. Unfortunately, not quite coming away with that result here tonight. Yeah, definitely a couple of moves that he tried in towards the hairpin here, just locking the rears and almost got himself stuck up on the inside there on the curb. Someone who did get stuck up on the inside on the curb, though, is Matt212. He was watching Concept and Scott battle away, heading into the very same corner. Thought maybe there was a chance to go for a move himself. And as you will see in just a second, looks sort of half-heartedly up the inside and gets stuck on the wall on the inside. Has to reverse back off. Not ideal for Matt212 there.
No, that is one way of saying, yes, getting stuck on the pavement on the inside. Disappointing for Matt there. Clips done, interviews awaiting. We've got 2 Italian stallions on the podium. But first of all, we're going to speak to the man of the moment, the reigning champion. It is Alex Gillen jumping in the building with us. An almost perfect race. Didn't quite get the Grand Slam. I think you missed out by 2 laps with Matt212 leading. But a race that coming to the end of it must have felt very satisfying.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my chat was keeping me informed about the Grand Slam stuff, but in the end, I always thought it was quite likely someone would steal the fast lap with soft tires at the end. Of course, it had to be Mr. Daly, didn't it, to do that? So, honestly, I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing with that. Like, I had good confidence in the race. Not an easy one. There was enough changes of conditions there, enough safety cars. Lolly was all over me at times. So not an easy one, but seemed to more or less have an answer for it all. Every resumption, Lolly was crawling all over me, but once, give me a couple of laps and I'm up to speed and I'm able to pull away again. But I do feel for Lolly. Unfortunate for his wing damage there under the VSC. My Delta just jumped around and he ended up just hitting into the back of me, so did not deserve that wing damage. But I'm very happy he held on to P2 because that is the least he deserved today. So congrats to him. And of course to Ricky for getting a podium as well. Congrats, guys.
100%. So we're cheering on Lolly in the final few laps as well, which was lovely to see. I want to talk about how, from a management perspective, was it difficult? Was it easy? Because there's a lot of safety car restarts you had to deal with, a lot of changes in conditions as well. Yes, it looked fairly comfortable from our perspective, looking from the outside, the race in general. But from your perspective, was it as easy as it looked? Obviously, you had to manage a few things in there.
It wasn't easy. Like I said, those restarts were definitely close. I'm normally quite good at adapting to new conditions, but for whatever reason, every restart, Lolly just seemed to be all over me again. I was theorizing that maybe, he was then super motivated to try and get me, and then once the gap got to 1 to 2 seconds again, he was then demotivated and kind of gave up a bit, maybe a little bit more, possibly. That's a guess. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy, that's for sure. I mean, all those condition changes, boxing as well, while it was still raining, to medium tires, that was scary as hell. The whole pack could have very well not done that, which obviously, with hindsight anyway, would have been the right decision. But, hindsight's a wonderful thing. It could well have rained for a bit longer. It could well have took 10 laps to dry up. Matt 212 did take the lead on those intermediate tyres. So that was a scary, scary moment. But got the calls right today, unlike in some other races. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing with that. And it was not easy. Lolly put up a great fight, but I was able to just have just enough to keep him behind.
And your first win in Monaco as well. You've been the bridesmaid a couple of times in the early seasons of the Creator Series, but to finally get over the line, pick up a win in Monaco, you're obviously the most successful driver in the Creator Series from Victory's point of view. So maybe slightly surprised that you didn't manage to get that Monaco win, but that must be a nice feeling as well.
Is it? I assumed I had a win earlier, but maybe that's too bold of me because I've definitely been in contention several times. I've definitely had a few battles with Yorit in the past. So, yeah, with him tending to come out on top of those, kind of glad to see him not at the front with me, to be honest, because it made my life a little bit easier because we know Yorit can be super strong at Monaco, so I'm not sure what happened to him today. But yeah, didn't realise it's my first win, so I'll absolutely take that. Absolutely take that. Buzzing with that. I would have thought I'd have had one before because I've always been in contention, but put it on pole today and almost led every lap. Buzzing.
And just final question, obviously you're in a different car this week, you've been acclimatised to the Sauber so far. What were the differences between the Sauber and the V-Carb that you're driving this week?
Honestly, I haven't back-to-back them. I kind of want to, because on paper they're quite different. They've got opposite ends of the spectrum of weight distribution. They've got slightly different tyre wears, they've got slightly different weights and stuff. But actually, I do think the V-Carb was probably slightly the better car at Monaco, if I'm being completely honest. It's few kilos lighter than the Sauber, slightly better tyre wear always helps a little bit. I reckon the Sauber rotates more than the V-Carb, but obviously in those wet conditions, you don't really want lots of rotation. So I think, to be honest, I would probably choose the V-Carb over the Sauber, knowing what the conditions are going to be like in that race. But honestly, before the race, if you asked me, I would have said, put me in the Sauber. If I had a choice to, I would have said Sauber. So it's not clean cut, but I think given the conditions we had, I think the V-Carb was the car to have. But those guys behind, especially Lolly and the Aston Martin, you could see he had more downforce. Up at the top of the hill, he was all over me all race. I was like, please don't send one, Lolly. I was terrified of him, but we managed to hold him off. Let's go.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Alex. Very well done on another win for yourself, first at Monaco. And the reigning champion, everybody, in the winner's circle at least, is up and running for Season 11. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Reigning champion there. First win of the season, wasn't here last week. Back on the top step. And the first of our two Italian stallions is going to jump in. Lolinoba, a second place for yourself, your first podium of the season. And you had to work hard for that one right at the end with the wing damage that you picked up.
Oh my god, thank you. Hello everyone. I don't know how I managed the damage, really, I don't know. GG to Vince for the clean racing. GG to everyone. I really don't know how I finished in second place here in Monaco.
I mean, could you just talk us through the incident with Gillen? Obviously, from his perspective, he definitely got brake checked by the Delta under the virtual safety car. Was there anything else that you could have potentially done to see it coming, or was it just you're a bit of a passenger in that situation?
Yeah, I think I just get another time for the second time in a row the bug of safety or virtual safety car. So the game just I don't know, just destroy 1 second to Alex, and he brake obviously because you get like a panic, and I just get a damage for this. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to say nothing on Alex. This just happened in Singapore to me with Tia, and can happen with the virtual safety car.
Is what it is. Incredibly unlucky, but an incredible battle, an incredible fight shown from yourself in that last 25 laps or so. Under significant pressure, first from Vince and then from Ricky in the final few laps as well. Just talk us through what it's like when you're sitting in the cockpit. You know you have got a disadvantage because you've got the wing damage and you just try so hard to keep those cars behind.
Yeah, I just try to break maybe a millimeter before everyone for the wing, but I think I managed very well. I just get only one corner when I'm so worried about, but I think I manage everything. I don't know how I do really, just the pressure.
Well, you did a very good job. And just a final word on the Aston Martin that you're driving this week. Obviously, it's not particularly good in a straight line, but from a downforce perspective, would have served you pretty nicely. How did the car feel in general?
Yeah, I just at the start of the weekend, I just get worried about the straight line because I know it's in Monaco, but every time I get attacked with this problem with the wing on the straight from Vince, and the Williams is really fast on the straight. So I just try to maximize my airs, like 30% per lap, to use everything on the straight for defense to Vince. So good on the corner, but on the straight was ridiculous.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Ollie. A very well-deserved second place for yourself as well. First podium this season. Hopefully many more to come as season 11 progresses.
Thank you too.
Cheers, Lolly.
Bye-bye.
What a fun one. We love speaking to Lolly, don't we? Always exciting, always joyous to speak to. And I'm happy to say as well, Ricky 03 for the first time in the F1 Creator Series has finished on the podium. Ricky, many congratulations. Just tell us what you're feeling right now.
I can't speak about my feelings because I'm really happy about that. Like, it's the first time, and it's on Monaco. That's good.
Were you feeling confident coming into it? Because we've seen when you're in F2 a few on F1 24, I think it was. It was a circuit that did treat you pretty well. So did you have some good feelings coming into it?
Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, because like in F1 last year I was not consistent, but yeah, this time I had the feeling, and the things went very well, and nothing. That's a very good podium from P6, and that's the important thing, that I achieved this podium for the first time.
100%. How difficult were those last 20 laps where it always felt like you were just a little bit stuck behind Lolly and Vince, who couldn't quite get past the lead Aston Martin? Then once the opportunity presented itself to get past Vince when he made that little mistake into the Lowe's hairpin, you took it very much with both hands.
Yeah, like the last 20 laps was really tough, and I was eating popcorns, like watching them battling. But yeah, I was ready for passing Vince, because I knew he tried to overtake, and yeah, at the hairpin he tried to overtake, and he did a mistake, and I tried to overtake him, and with the at the hairpin, that's like not normal, do an overtake in the hairpin. So yeah, it was very difficult, but yes, I did that pass, like with the help of Lolly, because without him I didn't achieve the podium like today.
100%. And then just a final question. You've leapt up into P7 in the standings, comfortably inside the top 10 now. How can you build on this result? First podium of your Creator Series F1 career. How can you try and take this into the next few rounds, into Mexico, into the Fan Vote Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time?
I'm gonna try to be consistent, because I was in P2 in Singapore qualifying, and I bottled it, like such a great mistake by me. And yeah, I'm gonna try to do the best, okay? Because I don't really like the next tracks like Mexico, like Interlagos, and I'm gonna miss the last one, Abu Dhabi. So I'm gonna try to do my best, and I don't know if I can keep myself into the first 10 positions in the standing.
Well, 100%. First podium in your created series F1 career. Hopefully the first of many, and I'm sure that
I hope so.
We will be chatting to you many more times this season with the Pacey Show. So thank you very much for speaking to us, Ricky. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Of course. And best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Bye.
Our second Italian stallion jumping in, finishing on the podium. We have also got Vince in the interview waiting room. Couldn't quite get that podium in the end. It must have been so frustrating, sat behind Lolanoba for what felt like a considerable amount of time, but another very decent haul of points for yourself.
Yeah, I think I need to get promoted by Aston Martin or paid by Aston Martin for the advertisement I gave him there, because, yeah, Lolly was filling up my screen. he drove fantastic. Yeah, it was a good result to get P4. Obviously, on another day, I think there would have been a top 3, but yeah, I got a little bit too desperate, I guess, on Lolly. I knew that if I wanted the P2, I had to try something because I was doing everything I could to get past him, and he just, yeah, it was a brick wall, so I couldn't get through, unfortunately. But yeah, he drove fantastically.
How did the Williams feel? Because obviously for the majority of that race, you were fighting with 2 Aston Martins, which do have a little bit more of a chunk of downforce compared to the Williams that you were in. Just talk us through that little dynamic and how that played out.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, compared to last week, obviously, I felt like I had a good bit of straight line speed last week, but this week, obviously, Monaco doesn't require that much straight line speed, but obviously to overtake, you have to have a bit of straight line speed to get by. So, and I didn't feel like I really had that. I really feel like I have to really squeeze everything out the battery to try and have an opportunity, I guess, at getting past. But, through the corners and stuff, it felt okay. In the rain, it was quite tricky, I found. In the dry, it felt quite stable. But when the rain came down, I felt like the back end just wasn't very settled and I couldn't get the car tucked in right. So I guess that's where the issues really lie with it.
And just a word on the sprint race as well. Might feel like quite a while ago, but you were definitely in the thick of the action, batting way through and picking up a few points. Just how chaotic was that? Have you ever experienced a race in the Created Series like it?
I think every driver was involved in the event. I think only like 2 people didn't get damage. Not quite to the depths of that, I don't think. I've been involved in the 4 cars, 5 cars and stuff like that in the past, but an entire 20 car one, yeah, that was something. I had no wing at the end of the first lap and still managed to recover to a P6, so I would take it. But yeah, it was a messy one, very, very messy. But yeah, at least we made the right call to get a new wing on, and we got something out of it at least.
And just final question, a championship question. Obviously picked up that win a few weeks ago. Joint 3rd in the standings with Alex Gillen, a couple of points ahead of Tiamat Malik, a few behind from Raz and Chai. How much is the confidence brewing inside you? How much confidence do you have at the wheel at the moment with the results you're picking up?
Well, I mean, not getting the podium today did put a little bit of a dent in it, I guess, but it's not something I'm really thinking about in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if I'm going to be here for every race. I don't know if I'll have a strong car for, some races. Maybe I'll be in a car that's just not that good next week or the week after, I guess. But, we take it race by race. There might be races where we can score podiums. There'll be races where we're struggling to get a top 10. So we take it week by week, see what happens. If there's a chance for a championship, then we go all guns blazing. But otherwise, we just make the content.
Amazing. That go, Vince, everybody. Another very decent haul of points from the man in the Williams this week. And like we said, moving up into 3rd place in the stands. Thanks very much, Vince, for talking to us. And
cheers.
Best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Vince, everybody. It's just me. I feel very lonely here on the screen. We're going to head over to see the driver standings, how things are playing out. I've got Josh alongside me once again. Meraki, though, with that win in the sprint and a decent P5, I think it was, in the main race, opening up a 20-point gap at the top. That could be quite sizable at the end of the season.
Yeah, Alex Gillen, I think marginally closing in, though, throughout the course of this race weekend. He's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. Of course, we saw how well he did last season. He definitely seems to be strong on this game. But obviously, that 20-point gap is going to be a big one to be closed. I think Meraki definitely going to be the favourite heading through.
100%. But if you look at some of the drivers behind, you look at Dak Vince, obviously in very good form. Razin wasn't here this week, but has been incredibly consistent. And then you look at the 2 drivers that, of course, were teammates this week, had very, very contrasting races. Alex Gillen, dominant out in front. Tiamat Malik had all sorts of adversary thrown in his face with disconnections. He was caught up in incidents in the sprint race as well that weren't necessarily his fault, but to still be there in and around the right kind of place, P5, he's only 30 odd points behind Meraki. We're still yet to see the best of Tiamat Marduk this season, and that's going to be a scary proposition for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting when he does finally find that form. We've kind of always seen it. He always seems to be able to get up to that winning potential on every single game. I think it's just going to be a matter of time, to be honest, before we do see the full potential of Tiamat Marduk. And when we do get that, I think it's going to be quite a worrying prospect for a lot of drivers.
100%. Meraki leading the way, 20 points clear. 4 champions, in the top 5 of the drivers' standings, and potential for more to move forward as well. Hopefully we can bring back in our commentary crew as well, TK and Carl Poranic, who, as they always do, excellent job from yourselves, gentlemen. Starting with you, TK. I think this might go down as the longest Creator Series broadcast we've had. We've been live for 3 hours and 45 minutes so far. So many talking points. A sprint race that was chaotic, and a main race that lived up to that expectation as well.
Absolutely, and what a race we've had. The sprint race was just cinema with all the drivers being thrown into the F2 cars and pretty much having no idea what to do or how